Good evening. This is the Tuesday, December 16th, 2025 regular meeting of the Flemington Borough Planning Board Zoning Board of Adjustment. This meeting is being held pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been posted on the Borough website outside Borough Hall here at 38 Park Avenue and in the newspaper of record for your news on or about January 16th or something, and subsequently posted after that, and
At the reorganization meeting.
meeting. Okay. This is
And all handicapped entrances.
and all handicap access are there too, and then a notice provided to anyone requesting notice of same. This is a judicial proceeding to form appropriate for judicial proceedings should be maintained at all times. This meeting, this in-person and virtual meeting is being recorded for both video and audio and maybe rebroadcast. Did I miss anything? I'm doing this by memory, folks, sorry.
Flag salute.
That's good. Please rise as you're able for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please take the roll.
Mayor Karen.
Here.
Councilwoman Tesoro.
She's here.
She was online.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
I'm here. Thank you.
Mr. Campion is absent. Ms. Gibson is absent. Ms. Weissman. Here. Ms. Swingle.
Here.
Joe.
Sure.
Mr. Schlanger is absent. Mr. Dashna.
Here.
Mr. Ethel.
Let's see.
Mr. Hume.
Here.
And then Ms. Support that is absent. Attorney Kaczynski.
Here.
Engineer Clerico.
Here.
Planner McManus.
Here.
And Engineer.
Here. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Vice Chair sitting in for Karen, given the unfortunate work emergency. Unable to come here tonight. First item on our agenda, as always, is a time for public comments for items not currently in front of the board and on the agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Seeing nobody in the room and nobody online, we'll move to item 2, mayor comments.
Other than wishing everybody a happy holiday, and I don't have any.
It's recorded.
Did you hit transcribe?
I forgot to hit transcribe. Sorry.
All right, so
Now, thank you. No,
Okay.
it's good.
you got nerve.
Okay, that's it. I'm done. Happy
Wait,
holiday.
was it? That's all.
Oh, I said yes. I have, other than wishing everybody a happy holiday, I have no report tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Fusaro.
I have no no report. However, I would like to express to the planning board how much I've enjoyed sitting on this and working with you all for the past 2 years. It's been an absolute pleasure. And you might still see me around at planning board meetings on occasion. So thank you.
Thank you. HPC comments, Dennis.
Comments tonight. We have our meeting tomorrow.
Excellent. Professional reports, attorney? Nope. Engineer?
Just inform the board that we have been contacted by the, and we're gonna have a pre-app meeting with the Flemington Rescue Squad on, I'm not sure what they're doing, but they wanna get together, something they're doing over there. And I received a call yesterday from an engineer from Western Pennsylvania who's working, I believe he said with the YMCA regarding the old common swimming pool site. And I think they wanna come in and do some sort of informal together with professionals.
Yeah, they're scheduling a pre-meeting to just see what kind of permits they need, whatever they have.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Beth, anything?
No, it's fine.
Jay?
No.
Thank you all. Item 6 on our published agenda is approval of minutes from our October 28th regular meeting, October 20th executive session. Did we approve those last?
We didn't. It's my fault. She had sent them to me. I did review them, but I never responded back if they were okay. So you don't have them in front of you, so we'll adopt.
So, and as well as November 25th.
Correct.
We will put those to our next meeting.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Item 7 on our agenda for this evening is Spark Car Wash LLC application 2025-02 block 49 lot 6. I'm gonna ask if you could open up that laptop.
I certainly can.
So that I don't know if that one's logged in or not.
And while he's doing that,
on. Okay, we're gonna get that on so that our remote folks that can, you need to share anything, our remote folks can see it, but they can also see you from the side camera, so we can get started while that's going on.
Okay.
This is for, first for completeness, where we're at, so Eric, I have.
yeah, no, that's all I was gonna say. I just wanted to make a note for the record that we do have to do completeness first, and then we can go to the public hearing.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. My name is John Wichiscala on behalf of Spark Car Wash LLC. Pleasure to be here this evening. This is an application pertaining to the property of 294 Route 202. It's identified as block 49, lots 5 and 6. Really, the application pertains to lot 6, but a portion of lot 5 is included as well. When I was last year, I know it was a lot warmer than it is this evening. We come in on completeness, and the board may recall at that time we actually had a partial survey of the property, which really focused in on lot 5 and that, or lot 6 and that portion of lot 5, and ultimately it was determined based on Mr. Clerico's recommendation, and the board agreed, and we did as well. That we should do a full survey of the property. Because while we're focusing on lot 6, which is TGI Fridays and later the Red Crab Restaurant, you've got a number of other properties or a number of other leasehold interests that are included, the Mattress Factory, the Power Sports, etc. We've made a number of submittals since, including 2 Altus surveys. I believe we've addressed all of the completeness items that would allow us to proceed to hearing tonight. And maybe I'll just leave it at that for the moment, and we can talk about it. As I try to figure out how to turn this computer on.
If you unplug it and hand it over here, I could walk it over, I
I
can.
don't know why I'm not seeing the on button.
Oh,
Feel like it.
I can work, I can do the Geek Squad for.
All right.
So, in terms,
Oh, I turned it on.
so,
That wasn't that hard.
Mr. Clerico, if we could, I think it might be useful if you could walk through where we stand in terms of the completeness items. You're looking at your letter from December 15th, is that to get marked, Tara?
We're not gonna mark it now. I'll mark it once we start the public hearing as one of our many planning board exhibits.
All right, so what I attempted to do in this review is kind of go back to the history of the project. As the applicant has indicated, they've been here for quite a while. Their last board saw this in July. When they were here for completeness, there was a number of incomplete items, or a number of items were identified for potential waivers. At that particular meeting, the board just deemed the application to be incomplete. You didn't act on any of the requested waivers. They came in with a subsequent submission, I believe it was in September, maybe it was early September. We did an updated report at that point in time in which we addressed the new items that came in, made some recommendations again for some items that would require waivers. We also raised a number of issues relating to what was just alluded to earlier. The subdivision of the property, additional information that came in is related to lot 5. And as a result of that, the applicant was scheduled back for a public hearing on October 7th, and for, I guess, reasons relating to the issue with the title of the property, they would not review that application. They postponed that application to the 28th of October, and they subsequently postponed that hearing that night to a December meeting. They made a resubmission of a second, what was the 4th revision of their plan in November. And that's the document that's before you tonight. So the first 4 pages of my report, it kind of goes through the history of the documentation you originally received, the subsequent documentation you received, the additional 3rd generation reports, the documentation that you received, and starting at the bottom of page 4, I go into an assessment of where you are right now, which is basically what you're doing right now to completeness. And I've outlined on their checklist items that have been addressed under subparagraph A. checklist items, 10C, 10D, and 18, of which I was recommending a temporary waiver as they related to showing documentation 200 feet beyond the area of disturbance, and a permanent waiver related to documentation extending 200 feet beyond the property in question. Subparagraph C, which dealt with checklist item 32B, that dealt with outdoor storage information, outdoor storage on the property. There is now been documentation of outdoor storage that is actually permitted through the zoning official, and you'll hear probably testimony about that tonight. There also was storage of outdoor material that was not permitted, and the owner either has or is in the process of removing that from the property, and that's no longer an item on the table before the board. And then under sub item D, some checklist items relating to soil, groundwater elevations, and ultimately an as-built survey. The applicant is applying for both preliminary and final. One of the checklist items on final is that they submit an as-built survey before they seek a occupancy permit. And so we were recommending temporary waivers on that. I also went through some items that were previously listed as being incomplete and updated the board as to the fact that they're now complete. That's in subparagraph E. Having said all that, your action tonight, unless you have any questions on any of this, your action tonight would be to grant temporary waivers as they relate to information extending 200 foot beyond the area of disturbance, and permanent waivers as they relate to showing information extending 200 feet beyond the property for checklist items 10C, 10D, and 18. And granting a temporary waiver for checklist items P as in Peter, 23 and 24.
Okay, so I'm gonna see, do any board members have questions for Bob on any of this? I'll start remote. Anybody online have questions for Bob? No. Anyone here have questions? No.
No
Okay, so
questions, Jeff.
thanks. Okay, so is there a motion to deem this application complete with temporary waivers for 10C, 10D, 18 and permanent waivers beyond 200 feet, and a temporary waiver for P 23 and 24?
So moved.
Any further discussion? Rob?
Okay, Mayor, Karen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Basora,
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle,
Yes.
Mr. Show,
Yes.
and Mr. Josh.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Been a good evening.
See you next year.
So again, good evening, everyone. Now we're into the public hearing. Appreciate that. Again, my name is John Wichiscala. I'm here tonight on behalf of Spark Car Wash. My client does have a leasehold interest in this property. Again, it's 294 Route 202. It's identified as block 49, lots 5 and 6. Again, the majority of this property, it's really focused on lot 6, but we've got additional lands on lot 5. It's a property that is located in the borough's Highway Commercial Zone District. We are here before you this evening seeking preliminary and final site plan approval with variance relief to permit the development of a Spark Car Wash facility on the property, which is an express car wash. As you're going to hear and see and hear shortly, it is a modern, high-tech, environmentally friendly car wash. Car washes are permitted in the zone district. This is a proposal that does include an overall decrease in impervious coverage from what exists out there today with the restaurant use. We're actually decreasing coverage both on lot 6, which is the restaurant, as well as lot 5. And we're putting a property that's been sitting vacant for quite some time back into utility. Of this board is inclined to grant approval, and we think it is a use that is compatible with some of the other numerous other commercial land uses that surround us. As indicated, this application, we've been kicking it around for a little bit over time. We've made a number of revisions, and a lot of it was really just dealing with lot 5. As Mr. Clerico indicated, part of our revised submittals, it was brought to our attention that there was outdoor storage, actually considerable outdoor storage that was associated or is associated with the power sports business. I know our landlords moved on that. Had that tenant remove all that outdoor storage, which was sort of just parked in the back parking lot area, between us and the shops at Flemington. And the result of that is the construction official issued a memo that did acknowledge they are allowed to have outdoor storage within a particular fenced-in area, as well as one trailer. So part of those plan revisions were to address that. There was another question, for whatever reason, when it was originally Commerce Bank, I believe, and it became TD Bank. There was a subdivision that was done more than a decade ago. We went through a fair amount of title work, though it again had nothing to do necessarily with this application, but we wanted to clean that up. And we came up with the documentation and the deeds and so forth. May very well be that your tax assessor needs to correct the tax map on it. But I think we've addressed that over time. So with that, I have 5 witnesses I intend to call this evening. Matt Canali will be first. This is Spark Car Wash, and I'm going to run through the business, the nature of the operations and so forth. After that, we'll turn it over to our civil engineer, Doug Wolf with Bowler. He'll go through the plans, what's existing out there today, what we're proposing. We have our traffic engineer, Matt Seckler, who will speak to the traffic impacts associated with this project. We have received a DOT letter of no interest with respect to this project. He'll speak to that. We have Oliver Young, our project architect. And though I've not seen him, perhaps he walked in while I've been sitting up here. We've got our planner, John McDonough, who'll come in and speak to the variances that are requested. So, unless anybody has any questions.
Before we go there,
Yes.
thank you for the introduction. Kara, do we have proof of notice?
Yes, we do.
Do we have jurisdiction to proceed?
We have jurisdiction to proceed, and I'll mark a couple preliminary exhibits. We'll mark as A1, the application and all supporting documentation submitted by the applicant in connection with it. A2 will be the proofs of notice and hearing. And then we have a number of planning board exhibits. We'll have as PB1, Mr. Clerico's letter of March 23, 2025. PB2 will be the Environmental Commission's letter of April 8, 2025. PB3, another comment letter from the Environmental Commission dated July 7, 2025. PB4, another letter from Clerico dated July 14, 2025. PB5, Clerico's letter of October 3rd, again 2025. PB6 is our Flemington Borough Fire Safety Fire Marshal's letter of December 4. PB7 is Miss McManus, the planner's letter of December 14th. PB8 is Mr. Clerico's letter of December 15th. And last but not least, PB9 is Mr. Troutman's letter of December 15th. So we are now ready to proceed. We could swear in.
Before we do that, conflicts?
Oh, yes, if there is anyone on this board that has any conflicts, either direct or indirect, or feels that for any other reason, either financial or otherwise, they would be unable to render an unbiased determination with regard to the application.
Thank you.
Terrific. One more note, I did hand out packets to everybody. We'll be marking them in. I don't think we need to mark it, but I just wanted everybody to have the exhibits, because sometimes it's easier just to move
That's
it there and.
We'll take them as they go.
Yep, terrific. Thank you very much. Should we swear in everybody?
Swear in everybody, yeah. I don't see John.
Mr. McDonough's not here yet.
Where's he?
Somebody's gonna send him a text shortly, but we'll swear him in later.
You swear the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
All right, terrific. All right, now, yes.
Yes. So let me ask, if there's gonna be any presentations of materials, let me ask, are these all things that were part of the initial?
We're gonna mark them, we'll mark them as we go. Anything that isn't, I'll indicate.
Alright, so we have remote, both folks who are participating remotely. So if you have these digitally on a thumb drive, we can put them on the laptop and share it through Zoom. And if you don't, just make sure your boards are visible to members of the public as well as the camera
Where is the camera?
There's one up there and then well, we can get the one on the laptop working also.
I have mine on a thumb drive. I have mine on a thumb drive.
Okay, it's perfectly fine to just as long, we need to make sure that the remote participants have equal view of all the materials.
Yep.
To this new stuff, okay. So,
And just so I understand, it's your intention to mark even items that were submitted with the application, just as you go along, or just new ones? We don't typically mark
Just new ones. We were only gonna mark the new ones.
That's perfect. No, that's good. That's usually how we would do it.
Which is all they're gonna probably, which that's on that.
Right.
It's a color.
We aren't showing much.
which is, right, we just wanna make sure that everyone remotely can see everything. All right, thank you.
Are those visible?
Well, no, because the laptop's not logged into Zoom, so,
Okay.
so can you hand me the laptop and I will get it logged in and
I should have done that to you. I was gonna
Yes.
hand it to you earlier.
Yes, that's okay, I'll get it.
I turned it on
I will get it there,
for the rest of it. What?
not a problem, we can start, I'll get you on there.
All right, terrific. Mr. Canali, can you please identify yourself and what your role is in this project?
You just, yeah, and spell it for the rest.
Matthew Canale, Canale.
Thank you.
I am the director of real estate at Spark Car Wash. Been working with the company for about 3.5 years. I will give you an overview of the business. I'll go walk you through the operations of the site, and then happy to answer any questions that you have. So, Spark, currently, first of all, New Jersey based company. Our home base is Summit, New Jersey. We are a privately owned and operated company. We currently have 10 locations that are open and operating, and we are in growth mode, opening another 3 in the next few months and quite a bit more next year. Earlier stage development pipeline as well.
All in New Jersey,
Excuse me.
all in New Jersey.
No, it'll be Eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and like Hudson Valley and
The 10 that you currently have, are they in New Jersey?
7 of them are in New Jersey. So other states as well, but the primary focus is New Jersey. So the company itself is a modern express car wash. We utilize state-of-the-art equipment and car washing technology. We have a very highly trained and professional staff. And we invest quite a bit of money into the overall aesthetics and design of the building and surrounding site. As evidenced by some of the exhibits behind us here. The business model is a membership-based model. We offer memberships to each location that we have, and it's also open to the public. So, but the membership ultimately is why we pay such close attention to operations, aesthetic, and so forth. Driving that membership business is a key focus of our success. The operation is environmentally friendly. We recycle up to 80%. We recycle up to 80% of the water we use, and the cleaning agents are environmentally friendly and biodegradable. Kitchen grade is the term that we use to describe them. And the recycling of the water is both good for the environment, the load on the public systems, and also just the general efficiency of the business operations itself. The operations of the site I can walk through as well.
So we're gonna make reference to these exhibits. We ought to mark both of them and probably pick up whichever one you're gonna refer to first. Second, I don't know if you're gonna refer to the existing one.
I'm gonna refer most of this one.
All right, so I'm gonna mark this as exhibit A3 with today's date.
And that, yeah, you need that for the record.
A3 with today's date is a plan prepared by GPay and Eddy Architects. It is titled Proposed Site Image And it has a drawing number of R 3.1. And it's ordered, and it has a date of 12/5/25.
R 3.1, you said,
Yep,
and it says 404 underneath it,
it does, correct.
so that's A, great.
Can I ask that you position that a little bit this way and a little bit this way so that that laptop can see it and our.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Can see it. Thank you.
You good?
Almost. You can also move the laptop.
That's
That's.
Little bit.
It's so fantastic, yeah.
Okay, so operationally, we have 3 to 4 employees that are on site at any given time. Each of these employees has a very specific duty and responsibility on site. I'll walk through each of them which each of them do in relation to this site. So you'll enter the site from this direction, you'll circle around the back and you'll enter the queue line here. The queue line is to for a vehicle to go to the pay kiosk. The pay kiosk is where you'll encounter your first employee. That employee is there to engage with the customer, make sure they're facilitating a smooth transaction at the pay kiosk, and to engage with the customer to make sure they understand, how to use the facilities and so forth. As they pass through the kiosk, and I'll back up for a second. There are 2 pay kiosks. One is membership customers only. This kiosk is outfitted with a license plate reading technology that allows you to pass through seamlessly, similar to an Easy Pass. And the other is a paper wash kiosk open to the public, and that's where the customer service associate is to help facilitate the actual transaction. We pass through the pay kiosk. You will start going around the bend here into the site, into the tunnel entrance. At the tunnel entrance, you'll encounter your second customer service associate. This individual will be there to help load the vehicle onto the conveyor. The car will get onto the conveyor. The customer will put the car in neutral, and at that point in time, the conveyor will take control of the car, and the conveyor will pull the vehicle through the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, we have state-of-the-art blowing air blowers and drying equipment designed to all but completely dry the car. There's no manual labor at the tunnel exit. It's a fully automated system. At the end of the tunnel, the customer will regain control of the vehicle, and then at this site, they will have the optionality to, at that point in time, to enter the vacuum park. If they choose to enter the vacuum park, each of these parking stalls are outfitted with redundant vacuum cleaner equipment on each side, giving the customer, the optionality to clean, one side of the vehicle without having to drag it across the hood of the car, which could be inconvenient. In the vacuum park at all times is another customer service associate. This individual is there very specifically to make sure customers understand how to use the equipment. They're making sure the area is clean, making sure any trash that customers are disposing of is not just blowing around the parking lot, it's being put into the trash receptacle, and also engaging with the customer. It's a common theme across all of our employees. They're trained not only to just do a job, but to engage and be personal and ultimately engaging with our membership base. A design feature that I like to point out is that our parking stalls are a lot wider than a normal parking stall. This again is, I think these ones are 13 feet. Again, that's so people can open up their vehicle doors and you're not knocking into the person next to you. You can take your time without feeling rushed because you got somebody next to you waiting to use the vacuums on that side. It's a design feature that's put in place to make sure we're giving the customers a good experience. The reclaimed tanks that I referred to earlier, where we have the ability to recycle the water, are located under the parking lot on the side of the parking lot where this building is here. So there's 3 2,000-gallon tanks there designed to recycle, clean, and give us the option to, or not the option, but give us the ability to reuse the water. And I'll walk you. The hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Employees arrive on site about an hour before we open, so 7 a.m. get there to prepare for the day, and then 8 p.m. Is when we close, and then they'll be on site about another hour afterwards. to make sure the facility is clean and the operations are shut down and they're ready for the next day, essentially. We do get deliveries twice a month. No large truck, it's a Sprinter van. It comes to give us new cleaning soaps. And there's no disposal of any containers. They'll give us the new drums, and then they'll take the empty ones with them, bring them back to the facility to recycle themselves. So we don't really generate any trash. The business itself doesn't really generate any trash. The trash that we have is all from the customers that we serve. And trash pickup once a week generally, and we also do that generally between the hours of 7 and 8 a.m. It could be kind of scheduled accordingly, but that's
Private waste haul.
yeah, correct, private waste hauler. I think that summarizes, the business itself, the operations, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions at all.
So the way we usually do it is we have questions of our professionals, questions of board members, and questions from the public for each of our witnesses. We go one by one, so just makes it a little bit easier. So start with Bob.
Sure. So the prototype building you're putting on here is pretty much consistent with all your other locations. This is like a model. You have no variations on this model.
This is our ideal model, correct? We do have other locations that we weren't as fortunate to be able to build ground up. They're a retrofit of a different pre-existing car wash. But this is the ideal prototype model, so yes.
So if you're building from scratch, this is the building you build. There's no alterations on this building.
There's minor alterations like, that could be site specific. We need to go a little bit shorter with tunnels. Sometimes we do. Our ideal is 135 length. I believe this one is 135 length. So this would be the idea. We got a complete blank canvas as what we're building.
But if you didn't have a blank canvas, you have some options to make some modifications in the size of the structure.
Just the length. The width isn't really modifiable, correct?
And maybe perhaps you're not the witness. I raised a number of questions in my report about easements that affect the property, impact on easements.
Which one are we talking about? The last report from December?
My last report. My last report is all encompassing.
Okay, all right, so we're referencing PB8 just for the record.
Are you the witness to
We
answer?
will not be the witness on
Okay.
the easements,
Okay.
we'll hear the question anyway, and I'm happy to speak to it as well, because I know I submitted legal documentation in that regard.
Okay, well, I think as far as the operations concerned, I don't think I have any questions at this point.
The Sprinter van deliveries you said were twice per month, right?
Correct.
Where does that operation take place?
So it'll be before the hours of operations, and they will come in here and they'll pull right up to the building in one of the vacuum stalls. They'll load out the drums we're getting and take back in the ones we're giving back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just think one question. Your layout plan, as you approach I guess you called it the tunnel, you have an escape lane at that point. What's the purpose of that?
So the escape lane is a seldom used exit way in the event we have a vehicle that breaks down or has modifications that don't allow it to safely go through the tunnel without damaging the vehicle or equipment. It's seldom used. It's by no means an active driveway.
Beth?
The only question that might be for you is I want to talk about the vacuums
Sure.
and the timing, the lighting and the hours.
Sure.
Or the noise rather. Is that a good question for you?
Yeah, sure. I can speak to, it depends how much detail you want, but I can speak to what I know, certainly.
Yeah, so I'm interested to understand I know there's lights on it. I just wanted to talk about the hours for those lighting. I also want to talk about the noise generated by them.
Right.
So if you can share some detail.
Sure, absolutely. So in regards to the noise generated by them, I could talk to the generality behind how they operate. And I do think that our architect has an actual noise study he can speak to more specifically, but I'll give you the overview. So each individual arm does not have a motor. There's a central motor system for the entire row, and that's the same case for both sides. this is important because you don't have redundant machines working at the same time. So it helps limit the noise that we're making, really. So that's the noise making element of the vacuums is largely this central vacuum. This central vacuum system that you'll see here, and the other one I believe is on that side as well. So that's the noise, and like I said, my architect has a study that I can speak to much more detailed. The lights themselves, those are downward facing strips. They're intended to give a focused illumination to customers that may be vacuuming this time of year. When it's 6 p.m. and dark, they have the ability to see what they're doing and utilize the facility in a meaningful manner. We do generally keep them on overnight, and the reason for that is it's simply safety. It's a way for us to just keep the parking lot somewhat illuminated without having much outspilling light. Again, not to get technical with the light, the engineer I think will speak more detail on the light, but it's not intended to bounce outwards. It's more supposed to be just for safety after hours and to be more specific for the individual using the facility, like I said, like this time of year at this time.
Are they dimmed? Are they dimmed in the evening? Or during non-operating?
I believe there is a dimming option. I'm going to defer to my architect on exactly what that
Why don't we hold that for the architect?
Yeah,
All right, then that's all for now.
sure.
Harry, did you have questions for this witness?
Just a couple. The hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Is that Monday through Sunday?
It's 7 days a week.
And works. You said you have 3 underground 2,000-gallon tanks under the parking lot. How many gallons of water are you use per day on average,
So I can tell you per car because it fluctuates from it depends on the cars we're washing. So it's a little under 20 gallons per car of water use. Comparatively, if you wash your car in your driveway, it's like over 100, right? So it's actually an efficiency in that sense.
I guess your traffic engineer will go through the number of vehicles that'll come to the facility.
Yeah, I think they have certain standard numbers they use. Again, each facility's it's definitely variable, but I think there's certain standards that are accepted by traffic engineers.
Okay, and then you said that you recycle up to 80% of water, and I'm not quite sure what that means. Do you have an average, like on a daily basis? Is it usually 20? Is it usually 80?
It fluctuates with the equipment and how we're running it at that time.
Okay.
It's generally less than 80. 80 would be the max. It is generally less, and I can give you a range of we'll call it between 40 and 60%.
On average.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The applicant, in this case, you're purchasing this lot. And you're also leasing elements of the adjoining property,
Correct.
and those limits are what's shown on the plans that are before the board.
Correct. Yeah. Same control. I think they may be two separate entities, but the owner is the same for both lots.
Engineers, it's.
Any other questions from our professionals? Okay, board members, let's start remotely. Questions for this witness, Dennis?
Yeah, you mentioned that on average 40 to 60% recycled. What is the industry standard for new car wash?
I think it's I don't know if there's been a standard that's been established. I think when we talk about recycling, a lot of what we talk about is been established by the equipment manufacturers, and the general commentary around that is that it's up to 80%, depending on how exactly and what equipment you're using during each individual wash.
So is 40 to 60% average for car wash, or is that really an average for the industry, or just trying to understand what that means? Because first I thought it was 80%, but now it sounds like it runs 40 to 60%.
Yeah, so I'm speaking, when I'm giving that range, I'm speaking to what we know about our operations.
Mhm.
It's tough to speak, with standards amongst other operations. Every car is created a little bit differently. There are different providers of equipment, different ways of operation, so it's hard to address that specific question directly.
So, and just so I'm clear, if it's 40 to 60% on average, that means 40 to 60% of the water is going into the sewer, the other piece.
So I don't want to, I would prefer to defer specifics on, how much is being discharged to our engineers if they maybe have that
Okay.
data with them specifically. I don't want to misspeak because there's loss factors in there that gets a little bit technical with water that either evaporates or dissipates into the pavement and so forth.
Okay, I'll wait. Thank you. That's
Sure.
it for me.
Thanks, Dennis. Any other remote participants with questions?
I have no questions, Jeff. I'll wait for their engineer.
Thanks.
Dennis beat me to it about the water, so I'm good.
Thanks, Melissa.
I think we're all concerned about the water.
I'll wait for the engineer.
If you could just clarify for me, so are you saying then, based on the water, that the busier you are, the higher the percentage of recycling would be? Or?
No, not necessarily. It's more how the equipment is set up and what we have running during that time. So there's nuances to it. It doesn't have to do
More
with
equipment being
volume. It's
necessary.
more equipment. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then in terms of operation, so people are staying in their car, going through the car wash, they're not coming out?
That's correct. They're staying in the car, the vehicle the whole time. The only time they'd be exiting the car is in the vacuum park, where it's self-serve vacuum equipment.
Okay. And then, so you're saying there's an attendant in the front that helps direct people into there, especially in the colder months. I know, like, from my experience in car washes and things like that, sometimes there's like an easily accessible place for them to go stand inside. Is there a place for them here that they can do that between cars?
The employees.
Yes.
Yeah, we do have an office
Okay.
that is accessible to the employees.
Is that like kind of behind that sign?
Correct. Yeah, the office is at that right in front of the sign there. So they.
I mean, obviously,
Good
I guess
advantage.
they would get an indication too if someone coming to the kiosk.
Exactly. Yeah. Good vantage point to the vacuum park as well. It's a good well-designed location.
I think that's what I got.
Questions for you?
Thank you.
Sure. So on the water, you're aware we have our own water department here with our own wells? And that we currently, are you aware of that?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. And we currently have 10 wells. Preparing to drill. I'm sorry, 11 wells, we're preparing to drill a 12th well. Because technically per the DEP, we're out of water. We have the location for a 13th well, which we're not sure the DEP is gonna allow us to do because it's in a floodplain. And then we have no more locations for wells. We're out, because we're 1 square mile. And you're aware we've had droughts both this summer, last summer, the summer before that. So water's an issue here. We're not American Water, we're Flemington Water. And have been for 100 years. So you started out by saying you're environmentally friendly. Modern, high-tech, environmentally friendly is what Mr. Wishikala said. Did I get that right?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay. And then you said you're modern express car wash. You invest in aesthetics and design, and you recycle up to 80% water. Then you change the number to 40 to 60% water. So water's an issue in this town. Back in, let's see, August of last year, I had our water department write to your engineers to find out exactly what you took in 2024, what you recycle. They couldn't answer the question. Wouldn't issue the permit, your reservation. So they wrote to us in November of last year, a year ago. And again, wanted to follow up on the permit. And our water department reached out. Now, I don't know exactly who they spoke with, in writing to Courtney Abbott. But on the email is Doug Wolf. NJA 2302666.00. And Rachel Feisler, all from Polar Engineering. At that point, they responded on November 18th, 2024, that you 20 to 40% you recycle, 20 to 40%. That was what they responded to. This is a real concern I have. I think since I'm the last person to ask to talk tonight. So I just would like to know what the real number is and how you can represent yourself as environmentally friendly when that's what you're recycling.
Yeah, so as we have grown and opened up new locations, I think we've gathered more and more accurate data. I think the best way to answer that would be to provide you with, you know, the exact number based upon our existing locations. I'll also say that some of the locations that we had early on didn't have the same, they were more retrofit, as I mentioned earlier, so they didn't have the same equipment that we, you know, would be building here. It was more of an older car wash that we bought existing and retrofitted, and it didn't have the same technology that we would be putting in here. So yeah, to answer your question, the number may have fluctuated, and it may have been hard to grasp an actual exact number, which is why I tried to give a range. Because, you know, as we do build more, we get more data, and we can better, you know, assess exactly how much we're utilizing and how much of that is getting recycled.
So we have a Shamoshine and Raritan Township right on our border, and a Shamoshine and Flemington Borough.
Sure.
They both recycle 80%, full 80%. And they also told me that there are car washes out in the west now that recycle 100%. I don't know what kind of equipment you're using. The youngest of the two Shamoshines is over a decade old, and they are recycling at 80%.
Because I mean, I can't speak to another business. We would love to know what technology that, you know, they're utilizing and how they're reporting that information, because, you know, we certainly would look to operate the equipment within the car wash that does regulate the water usage as most efficiently as we can to make sure we get as close to that number as possible.
Maybe you should look at the stuff that they're using out in the west.
Yeah.
Like in California, where they're in full blown
Yeah,
crisis drought.
there's the equipment manufacturer that we use does also serve the West Coast. It's the largest equipment manufacturer in the United States. And again, there is ways to calibrate the equipment to make sure that it is running most efficiently as possible. And we can certainly, you know, make sure that at this location it is, you know, dialed up as much as it possibly can to make sure we are being as efficient as the equipment allows us to be.
Well, that's different than looking at buying a system that's suited for drought locations.
We're always looking to get the best equipment available to is true. I think we're actively doing that. We have somebody internally that works as director of product to make sure that we are at the forefront of all this technology. And again, there are nuances that exist within the operations of the business itself and the equipment that you're utilizing, right? There's nuances, and one location could be, not being, the equipment could not be calibrated the same way as another location, and therefore you just have like a different read. So again, trying to use as accurate averages as possible. Sometimes we play a little bit more conservative to make sure we're not, over promising and under delivering. But at the end of the day, the recycling technology we use is, best in class from a equipment manufacturer offering standpoint. And I don't think that there is equipment on the market that can operate more efficiently than what we're installing.
Then 20 to 40%.
Again, where that reading came from, I couldn't tell you specifically right now. It may have been a conservative estimate to make sure we're not under promising, over delivering. I think maybe the best way to address you know, this is to give you the exact data, you know, from comparable locations, which we may have. That might affect something, so.
Where would you consider a comparable location for Flemington?
What I mean by that is a comparable facility. So,
One of yours, right?
yeah,
And where would you consider that, like,
it would be any of our new build facilities, so, you know, there's Linden, New Jersey, there is Lacey, New Jersey. Either one of those, and it's not location specific, because we would look at it on a per car basis to make it apples to apples. Because it's ultimately driven by volume when you look at the facility, right? So it makes more sense to do it on a per car basis, so you're seeing like the true read. Because we wash, you know, 200 cars here and 100 cars there, obviously, you know, there's gonna be more water usage as a whole, but it's more about the efficiency per car.
what is the average any of your car washes in New Jersey get per day in cars? Look, what's your number?
200 to 500,
200, 500, depending on the location.
depending on location, yeah.
So if Ballers is telling us it's 20 to 40 and you're saying it's 40 to 60, it sounds like it's 40% recycling on
So,
average.
because, I think my engineer
Yeah, we're
may
gonna
be better suited to
We're gonna
answer
have
the
to
specifics
speak
on
to
it.
that.
Try and answer it as accurately as I can, based upon, you know, my knowledge of the, what I know about the operations and so forth, and the utility costs. Perhaps the, you know, engineer can speak in more specifics on, you know, how we arrive at the numbers and how it makes sense.
Just one more question.
Sure.
Since you said it's 200 to 500 depending on location, I mean, obviously Linden is a very populated town. Lacey Township not as much. What are you expecting in Flemington?
It's tough to say. I would say within that range. It really is tough to say. There's a lot of elements that go into population density, you know, the retail generators, how far they pull from competition.
But you guys cited location in Flemington. Obviously, you thought it was worthwhile putting one here.
Yeah, it was,
So
we
what's your
would
number?
be successful at 200 cars a day.
Okay,
We would be more successful at 500 cars a day.
okay.
So I just have, building on that one question, could you point out on that graphic where the kiosk is?
It's
Oh,
shaded by this
The tree.
tree here. So that's where it's worth.
So maybe, I don't know if this is a question for you or for maybe your traffic person, but. This time of year, when everyone put the salt off their cars. Car washes stack up, so do you know how many cars can stack up there, or is that a question for your traffic person?
Specifically, Doug can answer it.
Our civil engineer.
All right, that's fine, I will defer the question.
What I will say, just that make relevant is that comment by Doug is that, you know, we're built for efficiency. We'll make our money on these busy days. The last thing we want is not to be able to wash a car because there's no line out here. So we're built to process cars very quickly. We can do it as quickly as a minute and a half from kiosk through the tunnel. And there's the ability to speed up the conveyor, putting us in a position to process the car quicker. And you could also have 3 to 4 cars in the tunnel at the same time. We don't always do that because it's a load on the equipment and also the utility costs with the power. It's expensive to run the conveyor like that, but it's an operational solve for this busy day, because the last thing we want is to lose customers because they're back here, right?
No, I'm not worried about you as a customers, I'm worried about the impact on adjacent uses, but that's an. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are the members of the public with questions for this witness on the testimony given? Yeah, Bob, yeah.
So I understand you have a variable capacity here for the facility. Generally, how many cars an hour can this thing accommodate?
It's built, this specific facility can process up to 125 cars an hour. At no point in time do we expect to have that volume. It's probably half that at our peak hours.
And of the customers that go through, you obviously have data on this. How many typical customer comes through? What percentage uses the vacuums versus don't use the vacuum?
It's about half. It's about 50-50 at any given wash.
And you're proposing 25 vacuuming stations here. hey, why I'm asking this question, impervious coverage is an issue that's gonna be before the board. Why the 25? Do you have, what data, empirical data do you have that says that you could get by with 20?
The more the better, and the reason for that, and we have data because we have locations that have less than 20, we have locations that have more, and the more the better. The offering that we're giving the customers is, they're paying us, a flat fee, whether they use the facility or not. We want to make sure that there's availability to the vacuums, even on those busy days, right? And what you don't want is people sitting here like waiting for a vacuum to like free up. It just causes unnecessary congestion and so forth. So to answer your question, 25 is the ideal number, and we actively try to accomplish that.
You have facilities with less than 25? Did you say this is a prototype
We do.
facility?
We do have
Did
facility.
you experience problems at those locations?
Yes.
Problems that people are waiting.
That more frequent issues with there being at capacity, people waiting, and it's a less pleasant customer experience, correct?
Okay. I'm sorry, what was the number? 125 you said an hour?
125 in an hour at max capacity.
Okay, seeing no more questions. Thank you. Testimony.
Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. Doug Wolf. Civil engineer. You can get on set.
Do you have a thumb drive?
Okay. So if
Assume
you,
they would prefer. I put
it would certainly be easier because not only would they be able to see it, but members of the public can see on that screen, and we can see it on that screen. So let me give you a percent share.
We didn't mark the other one that was put over there. Right?
Okay, just say, we'll get back to that one.
Okay.
That's what you had. That would.
Just send this up. What could actually pop in on? I agree with you.
Facility you need, and only 300, good day, we say 3 to 5 again.
You are. I hear it's like, you see, it's about 10%.
Yeah.
So you want 54 standard. How would you argue?
None.
Okay, I have my exhibits on here. How do I?
So go to the green button at the bottom of the screen, and I'll Zoom screen. I'll go back to the Zoom screen, green button to share, click share. You choose whatever window it is. And you are good. Just to make sure you're showing the right thing. Is that what you want?
That is it.
Do me a favor,
Wait.
click the X on the all tools on the left side of Adobe over there to give us a little bit more visual. And on the bookmarks, close that bookmark window also, so we can see screen is mostly drawn.
Is that clear?
I think so, that's easier to see.
And then let us know what we're looking at so I can mark that in the hard copy.
And before we do that, Doug, why don't we just qualify?
Yep.
Name for the record?
Doug Wolf, WOLFE.
And Mr. Wolf, can you please provide the board with an overview of your educational and professional background and licenses you hold?
Sure. So I work with Bowler Engineering at 30 Independence Boulevard, Suite 200 in Warren, New Jersey. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Virginia Tech. I have a PE in the state of New Jersey. It is active license. I've testified before multiple boards in the state of New Jersey before and was before this board at the prior completeness hearing back in July, I believe it's.
Any other questions from our professionals? Objections, board members, questions for board members?
Right,
So
so
he's expert in civil engineering,
that is correct.
and that you're not gonna provide testimony, anything else? Traffic engineering, I don't know.
Traffic engineering.
Thank you.
All right, this is exhibit
Should be A4.
A4.
Sorry.
I can
Can
mark
you
that.
just describe that?
So this is the aerial exhibit prepared by Bowler, dated 12/9/2025. The address of the property is 294 Highway 202 in the borough of Flemington, New Jersey.
And really quick, Doug,
Sure.
just for purposes of the record, it's the aerial exhibit and the number there is C.
C-01, yes,
Yep,
correct.
perfect, thank you.
All right, again, we're at 294 Highway 202 in Flemington, New Jersey. There are two lots that are focus of this application. First, lot 6 is the primary focus shown here, outlined in yellow. That's approximately 0.85 acres. Also, lot 5 is the larger lot shown in yellow and borders the outside there. That's approximately 3.32 acres in size. I want to note the revised boundary here. At the last completeness hearing, we were showing that line directly through the TD Bank. It's now been figured out that that was actually relocated, and this is the correct lot line, which is going to be reflected in all of my testimony moving forward, and has been reflected on the revised site plans that we have submitted to you and your professionals as well. Additionally, we are acquiring a small lease portion of lot 5 here shown in red. It's 0.2 acres in size, and that brings our total for Spark Car Wash to 1.06 acres in terms of the lease area. In terms of zone, we're highway retail zone. We are permitted use. In terms of existing conditions, existing use is a red crab. It's approximately 7,700 square feet with associated parking and is no longer in service at this time. Existing site on lot 6 is little to no existing landscaping. It's really a sea of asphalt. There's no, I think there's 5 trees with 3 shrubs is really all that's out there right now. And besides asphalt, it's really in need of much of a refresh. Spark Car Wash is here looking to do that. Surrounding uses, first I'll orient you to north, which is top of the page. It's only a couple minutes from here. I passed it on my way in. To the north, site's bordered by Dunkin' Donuts. Flemington Power Sports is here as well, and Route 202 beyond. To the east, we have the Shops of Flemington. That's in this location here, with Raritan Township beyond. To the south, we have Reville Ave down here with Taco Bell and ShopRite beyond. And lastly, to the west, we have Route 202 with Chick-fil-A beyond in this area here. All right, I'm going to move on here to my next exhibit. This is, can mark this, what do we have, A5. This is the overall site plan exhibit prepared by Bowler. Sheet number C-303.
Shift that on the screen. I do it, but I don't want to mess with.
Sheet 303, and it is dated 12/9/2025. So again, existing condition, there's a 7,700 square foot Red Crab restaurant being proposed to be removed. We are proposing a 4,432 square foot car wash with 25 vacuum stalls, excuse me, drive aisle signage, utilities, and a kiosk and drive-through, as Matt discussed earlier. I'm going to walk you through the site real quickly. Matt did it before on the other exhibit, but I want to make sure from a 2D view, you guys understand where we're at here. So 202 is down here, Reville Ave is along the bottom. A couple access points to the site. First would be off 202. You'd enter and make a right in this location here. I want to note that this, in existing condition, is a ingress only. There is no egress. It's a do not enter. However, you can right now drive all the way down to this point where you would then see the do not enters and realize that you need to turn into this red crab area. So we're improving upon that condition. I'll get into that a little bit later in my testimony. Also, additional access points are off Reeville Ave at the bottom. Primarily this point here, which is an intersection which you can go up to another intersection point, make a left into the site. Once you're in the site, you would make a right here or a left here. You would travel to this point where you would then travel up and then make a left into the what we call queuing area, where cars would begin to stack at this point and then have an optionality whether you're a member or not a member to enter the pay station area. If you're a member, you pull up, the gate license plate reader reads your car, it'll open automatically. If you're not a member, you pull up, there's a person or attendant at the kiosk. You can pay for a single car wash. He'll guide you through the process efficiently and get you moving on to the tunnel entrance. Once you get to the tunnel entrance, you'll enter the car wash. There's actually also that optionality bailout lane. Like Matt said, this is in a seldom event. If a like dually pickup truck for some reason gets to this point, it allows them to exit out because they can't get through this car wash properly. So once you're in the tunnel, you exit at this point. There's another optionality point here. You can turn left into the vacuum area, turn left into there. At this point, you've already paid for your car wash or you're a member. The vacuums are free. You pull into a spot, you can use the vacuums, wash your car down, do whatever you need to do. Or if you don't want to do that, you just want a car wash, you could take a right. You would stop at the stop sign here, and then you can exit back to either Reeville Ave or eventually to Route 202 over here. Okay. Only other point I wanted to hit on this was the stacking. I want to briefly show it. Traffic engineer will get more detail in this. So.
It's not black on the sharing.
It looks good.
And just close the tools window and get more, we'll get more real estate. So you can probably X out that turn the volume. All right, here we go. All right. A6.
A6, this is site plan rendering queuing exhibit prepared by Bowler, sheet C-302, dated 11/21/2025.
Okay, 301 is on the screen, 302 is on your board. Which one do you have?
If you have it.
If you don't have it.
I don't have that one. That's one that did not make it into my print set.
No, there were one or two that were added last minute. Apologize for that. I have a fifth.
Yeah. Oh, in there, okay.
All right, here we go.
That color?
This is
Yeah, that was part of the plan set.
all right, so
This is
this
the original plan set.
this is
But this is color rendered.
Colorized,
so-
right.
yeah, yeah.
this all this is what was submitted with cars colorized to show the stacking.
So we'll mark it as A6, but we will need a copy.
Yes, fine. Yep.
Just for the record, what's the sheet number on that?
This is titled sheet 302,
And what's the title of the sheet?
site plan rendering queuing exhibit. So it's different.
That's not the 302 that's part of the set of
Correct.
plans.
Correct.
That's a different 302.
Yes. Yes. All right, so the one thing I wanted to note, because I know you had a question about the stacking, I just wanted to share this for a visual. So 19 cars can stack up to this point prior to entering the tunnel. I wanted to note that so you could see how many cars there are, how many we can get to this point here. There's also the optionality to, if needed, additional cars, 2 can go here, more can go here. We don't feel that that's going to be needed. The traffic engineer will get into this a little more detail, but I just wanted to show that for you guys.
Excuse me, the 19 is all the way up to the tunnel, or the 19 is before they pay?
19's from this point to this point, so right here.
Is it both lanes along the front?
I'm counting it. Everything in red you see is 19 minus this one. So I'm gonna go back now to my next exhibit, which is. So this, all right, so this is a site plan. This is what was submitted. We can mark it anyways. 7. All right, so this is site plan prepared by Bowler. This is sheet C-301. It's what Bob had in his set as well. Prepared by Bowler, dated 12/9/2025. This one,
What, I'm sorry, dated when?
12/9/2025.
So the handout we have here is revision 4/11/21, so this is a different version.
Oh, nope, I apologize. The exhibit is, when we colorize it, we make it into an exhibit and date it, but the revision date correct is revision 4/11/21.
Got it.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna reorient.
What, A7?
Yes.
A7, yep. So reorienting you to the improvements a little bit here. Like I said, this is the entrance off 202. Down here, you would enter through Reeville Ave, come up to this point where you would then have the optionality to get into the queuing lane. Stacking starts here, it comes into here. Exit the tunnel, enter the vacuum park, or exit, depending on what you want to do. I'm going to get into the bulk requirements here and the criteria. Like I said before, it's consistent with the revised Alta survey that we submitted showing the relocated lot line in the proper location. So starting with lot area specific, I'll back up a little here. Starting with lot 6, I'm going to cover this first, then we'll get into anything regarding lot 5. So starting with lot 6, lot area is 0.85 acres, we're 65,000 square feet. I should start with square feet. Lot area is 37,141 square feet, where 65,000 square feet is required, is an existing non-conforming condition. We're proposing no change there. In terms of lot width, 137.4 feet, where 150 feet is required, and is an existing non-conforming condition. We're also proposing no change there. Just want to note it for the record. Lot depth, we're at a compliant 229.1 feet. This is to remain unchanged. Minimum front yard setback is 75.1 feet, where 35 feet is required here, so we're compliant there. Minimum side yard setback is 33.8 feet, where 25 feet is required, so we're compliant there as well. In terms of minimum rear yard setback, we do have an existing non-conforming condition of 37.8 feet, and we are requesting a variance for 20.3 feet, where 50 feet is required. That's along this portion back here, just due to the overlap of the property line and the extension of the lease premises there. In terms of maximum impervious surface area ratio, we have an existing non-conforming condition of 0.81. We are proposing 0.75, which is a reduction, and are requesting a variance for this where 0.7 is permitted, even though we are reducing this. I do want to note we are reducing impervious coverage on this lot here.
What's this lot?
Lot 6, we're reducing it on lot 6 by 2,314 square feet and providing substantial green space throughout. As you can see, and I outlined earlier, there's basically no plantings out there right now. We're proposing a ton of landscaping that I'll get into later and provide the specifics on that.
What was the square footage of that reduction? 2,000?
2,314,
Thank you.
and that's just for lot 6.
That.
Moving on to floor area ratio, we're reducing the floor area ratio of the existing building to the smaller building from 0.21 to 0.12, where 0.2 is permitted. In terms of accessory buildings, we are requesting a variance for the accessory building located right here in a front yard with a setback for the kiosk and canopy equal to 18.9 feet. That's this setback shown here. As Matt testified earlier, this kiosk is required operationally for the attendants to assist new customers and not members through the site quickly. Help them out if they have any questions there. In terms of minimum landscape buffer, we have an existing non-conforming condition along the frontage here. 14 feet in the existing condition, and that is proposed to remain at 14 feet where 35 feet is required. One item I do want to note, at the beginning of this process, we did have a pre-app with the professionals, and I don't think any board members were on, but they may have been. Originally, the layout was pushed even further towards Route 202. The professionals made a point that they'd like to see that increased and at least maintained the existing condition. So what we did is we revised the layout, we pushed everything this way. which enabled us to hold that buffer that exists out there now. And we are adding additional plantings there that don't exist in the existing condition. I just do want to note that because that does cause the layout to shift this way and cause us to add additional leasing area, which is shown here. Lastly, in terms of minimum open space ratio, we're increasing and improving upon this ratio from an existing non-conforming condition of 0.19 to 0.25. So we are increasing the open space on lot 6 in the proposed condition, where 0.3 is required, and we are requesting a variance for this as we're 0.05 short of their requirement. Moving on to lot 5. So lot 5 again is the larger portion over here. Most bulk criteria for this lot is to remain unchanged. The one item that is changing has to do with the maximum impervious surface area ratio. There's an existing non-conforming condition on lot 5 of 0.85. We are reducing this down to 0.83 and we'll be requesting a variance due to the permitted ratio being 0.7 for this lot. Like I said,
Can
we
you
are-
point to the line again?
yes, so here's a better idea. If you look at this, this is lot 5 down here. Yep. And then just to reiterate there, we are increasing the square footage of landscape area on lot 5 from 20,771 square feet to 24,696 square feet in the proposed condition, and this is an increase of 3,924 square feet across this lot. So if you combine that with the number I provided previously, you're looking at about 6,000 square feet of an increase in landscaping, that is.
What was the total number again?
Or the
696,
24/6.
696.
3924 for lot 5 and 2314 for lot 6. I can add those up on my calculator if you want total. Alrighty, moving on to parking here. Again, we're going to start with lot 6 and then we're going to move to lot 5 because technically they are 2 separate lots. We also analyzed it as a whole. I've talked to Bob Clerico about this earlier today as well.
Can we get a question here?
Sure.
Lot 6 is the one with the building.
Correct.
And that's a pre-existing non-conforming lot, essentially in terms of what area?
So pre-existing non-conforming lot in terms of area, width, rear yard setback, impervious surface ratio, landscape buffer, and open space ratio.
And the title on lot 6 is held in common with the same as the title on lot 5?
Yes.
So isn't there something in the, I don't know what law it's in, whatever, the planning laws or whatever, that a non-conforming lot held in same title as an adjoining lot is by definition merged?
I don't believe this falls under the doctrine of merger, Mr. Clark.
Because
It is functioned, because it has functioned as its own lot. Designation has functioned in terms of its development. And I'm gonna confirm that they're both actually in the same title. I know it's common ownership. I'll double check that lots 5 and 6 are still separate.
yeah, we should definitely get a definitive determination as to whether they were merged, again, for zoning purposes by operation of law pursuant to that doctrine. May not be bad.
It might not be bad. I don't know.
Alrighty. I'm gonna move on here to parking. So starting with lot 6 again. Existing condition, we have 22 spaces existing. Proposed condition, we're proposing 25 vacuum stalls and vacuum court here. In terms of required number of parking, the ordinance, does not have a section for car wash. So we deferred that to the retail requirement, which is 1 for 250 square foot gross floor area. That lands us at 18 spaces required if we were to go back to that definition. So with 25 vacuum spaces proposed, we believe we are in compliance there. And lastly, to note, as Matt said earlier, there are 3 to 4 employees that will be on site at any given time. Those employees will park in the excess parking area over here on lot 5.
Non-merged, possibly same owner lots.
Yes, we will get the owner's permission to do that. All right, moving on to lot 5. Again, this one over here, in terms of parking, existing condition, we're at 242 stalls. Proposed condition, we are at 175 stalls. There's a few reasons there's a reduction here. First, 35 stalls are vacated due to the Spark Car Wash, primarily this area right here. So we're adding some landscaping here, we're doing some drive aisle improvements, and we're reducing parking in that area. Also in this area up here, there was parking previously, we're making that entire thing green space. Also, there are 32 stalls. Should probably show them on this page. Back to my first exhibit. So right here, there's 32 stalls that fall under a McDonald's lease agreement. We did not include those as part of the proposed parking calculation. And then lastly, there are 6 stalls up here which are occupied by a permanent trailer structure that we have received an email from the zoning official confirming that that storage is permitted, and we've removed that parking from the proposed parking requirement. Back to my original exhibit. And then just to reiterate on outdoor storage, all non-permitted outdoor storage on lot 5 is to be removed. We've already been working on this with the property owner. It's nearly done, but the only thing that is permitted is that trailer I just talked about, and then this area enclosed in this fence right here. There's no parking here. It was striped out and wasn't being used at the point in time. All right, moving on to loading here. In terms of loading for the Spark Car Wash, 1 loading space is technically required, and we are requesting a variance for this as 0 loading spaces are proposed. As Matt outlined earlier in testimony, only a Sprinter van comes, I think, twice a month. It'll pull in, come in, drop off what it needs to. That stuff will go inside the building and he'll leave. So there's no need for a 60, 70-foot long loading space that if you were to look at the requirement, that's what's required typically for heavier use commercial facilities that are getting tractor trailer drop offs and whatnot. And then any loading operations on lot 5 are to remain unchanged. We're not changing anything there. Just to hit home on circulation again, we talked about the entrance here. I want to discuss a little bit what we're doing here. So existing condition is a right-in only. That's to remain unchanged. There is no ability to exit back onto this road here. There's do not enter signs out there at this time.
This road is.
Route 202, sorry. What we're doing is right now, you were to pull down this road, you'd get to this point, and then you'd see do not enter signs. You would then have to turn into TGIs, circulate around, and somehow get back to where you came from. We're taking that do not enter, we're shifting it from there over to this point. So that would not allow cars to go past this point. You'd have to enter, circulate through here. If you want to get to the area down in this portion, you do that, or you would see it beforehand and you would turn right and go to Flemington Power Sports or wherever else you're going in this area. I am going to show my next exhibit here, which is not part of your packets or available on PDF, but it's just very quickly. It was a comment from Mr. Troutman regarding this entrance and the ability of existing. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
So he had a question about
Hold on, real quick. So this is gonna be
Oh, sorry.
A8,
A8.
Yes.
and it will be, just give us the name, and we'll need a copy of that as well.
Yes, so this is truck turning plan. Sheet number again is C-01. I can modify that if we need to, but the date is 12/16/2025, and it's titled truck turning plans.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Troutman had a question about what can get in here in the existing condition, what can get in here in the proposed condition. The reason he asked this is because we're tapering this entrance down outside of the property line. We're tapering the entrance down eventually to 15 feet in the proposed condition. And we're not starting that till after, 10 or 15 feet or so. So what we did is we ran an analysis in the existing condition and the proposed condition of what's the biggest truck that we can get into the site, what's happening there now and what's going to happen in the future. So I tried a WB67, that didn't work. I tried a WB50, that didn't work. The biggest truck in the existing condition that we can get into the site is a WB40. That's what's shown here. And we ran the same truck in the proposed condition. That's what's shown now is the proposed condition. a WB-40 can enter the site in both the existing and the proposed condition.
For
So
those of us who don't speak that, what is a WB-40?
sure, so I have a spec here. This might give you a little bit better of a picture. It's like a mid-size semi truck, so it's not the longest ones you see with the triple wheel axles and all that. It is back of it's 33 feet long. From there, you got another 10 or so feet. So you're talking, it's about a 40-foot long tractor trailer, but it's not, rough.
Have you looked at a fire truck?
More like excuse me, is that more like a lorry or a box truck? Oversized box truck?
It's a little bit bigger than a box truck, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Have you looked at a fire truck and have you gotten any input on this project from the fire?
Yes, it's a great question, and I have. I have an exhibit for that. Good.
By the way, it is common ownership NJM. NJM Associates does own lots 5 and 6. We just wanted to verify. It's been a while since I looked at them.
So I think we're on A9.
So if you would, since you don't have this digitally, if you wouldn't mind.
This one actually goes.
Okay, that would be great, thank you. Fantastic.
Just bookmarks. All right, okay, so. Want this A9?
Yep.
So this is A9 titled Truck Turning Plan, parentheses fire, prepared by Bowler, and that's dated 12/9/2025.
And that's all the CO1, right?
Yes, it's also CO1.
That is or is not part of the set?
Nope.
This I do not think is part of the set. Okay, so to Bob's question. Yes, we've ran this turn. Yes, we've sent it to the fire chief. And yes, he has given us his approval of the turn and he's issued any comments. We've addressed everything and we have an approval letter from him. So what we did is we ran the truck spec that his office provided us through this entrance. And this shows that it adequately does circulate fine. And in fact, can get all the way over to here where he was questioning if we could. So we showed it all the way to this point and into the vacuum area as well. And he's more than satisfied with the ability to navigate this site.
That's not in the letter of December 4th, right? That's a different letter.
Saying
he confirmed.
Yeah.
I thought we had submitted it.
Oh, yeah.
This year?
No,
No, he's so far.
fire chief, not final mark.
Sorry. you're asking.
Oh.
Yeah, from Ken McCormick, fire marshal.
Yeah, but
That was the letter that we had.
Doesn't address this.
Was talking about
Right.
building conditions and not
Yes.
turning radius. So we're asking where you have confirmation from.
I have email confirmation here from Ken stating that what we sent him, which is this, is adequate. And I can provide that to records.
What's the
Please.
date?
Date of the email is Tuesday, October 21st. We're more than happy to provide that.
Yeah, and if you can just identify what he looked at and just so we can have an email that says he looked at that plan,
Sure.
with that date, so we can time look at it.
This will do.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for this one.
Quick question.
Sure.
What's preventing them from going in through where the vacuum's on? Is there like a bear, is there,
Where are you talking? Are you talking past this point?
no, like, so even before that, so like.
Let's
This
identify
one here.
where we're talking about, just for the record.
Yeah,
C 301.
in 301,
When they turn on Rayville and they start to go into the queue, how do they not take the left into the vacuum area?
yeah,
Well, they can take a left into here if they have to.
so there's nothing like barricading
No,
them?
no. All it is a do not enter sign. In the event that emergency vehicles need to get into that area, they can.
Adjust.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just.
So a person in desperate need of a vacuum could
emergency.
If they want to break
Emergency
traffic
evacuation.
laws
Yeah.
and get
Can quickly get it
taken by
without
the
paying.
police.
I-
Everything has a price.
Just making sure I understand. There are nearby car wash facilities that have gated access and lane controls so that of the routing through the tunnel to the back end facilities, one of two paths in, and that's what you're describing here is that the only thing is the stop bar and a do not enter sign on pavement.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And that is a design consideration we make when designing these facilities. If we can, we direct people into the tunnel and then to the vacuums. Because if you let them just, nilly-willy go into here, they might not be a member, they go and use it for free, and it creates, they don't know what they're doing, they haven't been there before, so we try to avoid that. I'm gonna go back to my exhibit, A7. I think I covered everything in terms of circulation that I wanted to here. All right, quickly to move on to drainage and stormwater. This project is a major development, and we will be decreasing regulated impervious and motor vehicle surface area in the proposed condition. Proposed limited disturbance is 1.04 acres, which exceeds the 2,000 square foot requirement in township ordinance and requires us to adhere with the Springfield development criteria.
Before you continue, do me a favor, please, can you change what you're sharing to be back to the exhibit that you got up on the board? No problem. Hybrid meetings, I know.
This is it. Real. Thank you. Okay, the requirements for major development criteria are met through non-structural strategies, in this case, such as reducing and disconnecting impervious cover throughout the site and maintaining natural drainage features. We're doing that primarily by adding landscaping in this area and this one as well. The peak flows for the proposed condition are less than the peak flows in the existing condition for the 210 100-year storms. So really in all cases, we are reducing flows across this site due to the decrease in impervious area and proposing landscaping. In terms of conveyance, we're proposing some inlets and pipes for stormwater conveyance that will tie into the existing system. Down here, really what you're looking at is catch basin here, catch basin here. Water's going to travel from here, go to this point. There's a few other inlets proposed as well, but this is really the main system, which you're eventually going to get down to this point. There's an existing infiltration basin down on lot 5 in this area, which we are tying into. As I noted, we are reducing flows in all scenarios and will not be impacting the functionality of this basin. Per recommendation from Mr. Clarko's office, we do agree to providing snouts, which are water quality units, at a few of the discharge locations downstream of these pipes. So we are agreeing to do that. And I just wanted to make one note because there was a comment in Mr. Clarko's letter regarding groundwater contamination. We did perform a phase 1 and a phase 2 environmental site assessment. This is prepared by Whitestone. It has not yet been submitted, but we're more than happy to submit it to your office. This ESA outlines that there is no contamination found on either of the sites here. So I just wanted to clear that up and make sure that no one thought there was groundwater contamination here.
Yeah, we'll definitely want to see both of those reports if we're going to rely on it for purposes of
Sure.
that comment. Thanks.
All right. So now we're getting into utilities, which I'm sure everyone is ready to discuss here. So quickly, we have will serves from JCP&L, Comcast, Elizabethtown Gas, and RVE, who is the water and sewer reviewer for this area. In terms of proposed water, gas, sanitary, storm, electric, and telecom, all tie-ins are going to be into the existing service points on site from the previous restaurant. I do want to note 2 items in terms of relocations that we're proposing. One being the sanitary line. In the existing condition, there's a sanitary line that runs through this area. After further coordination with the water and sewer department, they recommended and requested that we relocate this sewer line out into the drive aisle here and then back into where it originally ties in this location. The real reasoning for that is to make sure there's no structures within this new relocated easement. You don't want any maintenance issues or anything like that down the road. So that's item one. And then item two, there's a small portion of a gas line here, which runs through the site to this facility. We are relocating a small portion of that just to avoid any utility conflicts here as well. But that one is minor. And like I said, I mean, all approvals for these utilities will be gained as needed. We'll get consent from who we need to in terms of relocating these utilities. So now let's talk a little bit about reclamation system. So Matt hit on it a little before. I'm going to try to reinforce that as I've been involved with Spark Car Wash projects for probably the last 2 or 3 years. I'd preface it by they're a newer company. Like you said, there's only 10 or so facilities now that are in actively getting customers to the site. So a few months or so ago, you could call it 6 to 12 months ago, there's limited information. Yes, we originally did request lower flows and then requested higher flows and higher flows, and you feel like this numbers just keeps going up and up and up and it's never going to stop. That's not the case. We've gained more information through the last 6 months than we ever had. So what we're at now is a conservative number that we're using in requesting will serves for all projects in these type of areas. So in this type of area in northern New Jersey, or in this area, it's southern New Jersey, you kind of put a dividing line based on, like Matt said, how many cars do you think you're going to have at this facility? So it's a projection. In this case, it's a conservative projection. So the latest numbers that we requested and that we are more than comfortable with, and we think are very conservative. Water is 15,894 gallons per day. I want to note this is an average. So that's an average number. And for sewer, our request is 11,553 gallons per day. I want to explain a little bit on how we got to these numbers and the exact, what are you going to be looking at from a sewer discharge and all that sort of thing. So as we started to increase these numbers and gain more information, specifically utility bills in terms of water and sewer bills that we obtained from existing Spark Car Wash facilities in the state. So we were able to analyze these bills from existing facilities and determine that at a site like this, for example, gallons per cars. So I want to start with gallons per cars. One car is going to use approximately 28 gallons of water. 28 gallons per water. And this is all on average we're talking here. And then if you're looking at it from we're talking, on average, highest scenario on like a rolling 6-month period. So we're talking 28 gallons per car for water and 20.89 gallons for sewer. So there is a deficit there, and that's approximately 7 to 8 gallons in between there. That's what we're comfortably utilizing as the reclaim figures, and that does not align with the up to the 80%, for example, for many reasons. When we request these will serve letters, we want to go in conservatively, and we want to factor in, say, down the road, if for some reason there was an increase, if we were able to get 500 cars per day, consistently at this site, we want to make sure we're covered there. So we don't want to come in at, say, 7,000 gallons per day, and then 2-3 years from now, you're seeing 11,000, 12,000 on the water utility bills. There's also you need to obtain DEP permitting at a state level when you hit a certain threshold for water and sewer. So that's another item that we don't want to cross later on. We feel that we should just go ahead, get ahead of it, and obtain those permits now, just in case in the event that we do need them. So like I said, we have information from existing facilities that are in use, and we have this. The DEP's actually required us on a handful of these Spark Car Washes to submit backup data for existing facilities, and we have that information and we can provide it. A few sites, like I think you said, Lacey, and another one we have, for example, that shows on average, I'll give Lacey as an example. I think we're at 8,000 or 9,000 gallons per day. So we looked at all these different sites and we figured we should conservatively ask for more water than we think that we will be using in the end. So that's where we came to these numbers of 15,000 and 11,000. What questions do you have for Flora?
Before, we're not gonna do it like that because we.
You want to come back to it?
Well, no, we were gonna go to our professionals and then we'll get to board members,
Okay.
like, if you wanna, it would be better if you get your testimony all on the record and then us to. Because we wanna go through the review letters from our professionals and then we can get to all of those. So I know we've been a little bit less formal in the last, but let's get all your testimony out there.
That works. I was getting highly technical, so I want to make sure we didn't want to jump into that. All right, so that's really the gist of the water and sewer there. I'm sure we'll come back to this with questions later. But like I said, I'll reiterate the reclaim system. It's up to 80% of the water in ideal conditions. That's what we would look to do if possible. I think Matt said you're probably looking at realistically 40 to 60% there. Again, products are dishwasher safe. There's no PFAS. That's the forever chemicals, and they are biodegradable. And lastly, Spark employees are trained for standard maintenance of the system as required. All right, I'm going to move on quickly here to lighting. Lighting across the site, we have 7 area lights proposed at a compliant mounting height equal to 20 feet high. 27 vacuum lights are proposed in the vacuum area. I think the planner did make a note about this on whether they would be on or off. We would agree if you feel necessary that these could be turned off after hours. However, we feel, and we've approached this on other sites, that there should be, lighting for safety reasons within the vacuum area. So at this time, we're proposing to keep that lighting on during after hours, but we can discuss that further if needed. And then lastly, 3 tape lights are proposed at the tunnel entrance, exit, and office. All color temperatures are proposed at 3000 Kelvin, which is a whitish yellow. It's a nice color. Following waivers are requested for lighting. We have maximum illumination at the property line. 0.1 foot candle is required, where 6 foot candles are proposed. That's really this property line right here, just because we have to light this area and there's a property line that cuts through it because we are encroaching on this lease premises here. We're requesting a waiver for maximum illumination within vehicular use area, which is high activity, where 2 foot candles are allowed, and we're proposing 5.1 specifically just right at this entrance tunnel here. We are also requesting a waiver for maximum illumination within a general parking and pedestrian area. A 0.9 foot candle is allowed, where 19.9 foot candle is proposed. And that is the only reason it is that high is because of these vacuum lights. Like Matt said before, they do have a shield on top of them. They only shine down. You really can't see them from too far away. And those are only within the vacuum park in this area. All right, moving on to landscaping here. Like I said before, existing site is majority impervious. There's 5 trees existing on lot 6 with 3 hedgerows. There's no landscaping proposed along this Route 202 corridor. We are proposing 5 street trees and over 20 shrubs in this area. Beth, the planner, made a comment about the spacing here. Due to limited width availability here, we are requesting a waiver for spacing of these trees. We need 40 feet on center. However, we can't quite get 40 just due to the width limitation here. There is an existing driveway. We can't really do anything about there. So we do agree that we can increase this. We could slide them down a little bit. We can increase the spacing here to try to get as close to 40 feet as possible, but we're just hoping to be able to get that full 40 feet there. And then secondly, we're also requesting a waiver for parking area trees being proposed on the perimeter. There are a handful of parking trees proposed on the perimeter here. However, they're not interior to the lot. Really, this requirement is more for large seas of parking that need to get broken up with a landscape area every 20 spaces or something like that. So in total, we're proposing 16 shade trees, where 16 are required, 262 shrubs, where 26 are required, and also 16 grasses in addition. Also, we'd like to note that irrigation will be provided throughout the site. So you're not going to see these plants be installed and just die 6 months later. They're going to be watered. Everything's going to look really nice.
I can use a lot of water.
Matt, can you go back to those numbers, please, on the plans?
Yes, so 16 shade trees, where 16 are required. 262 shrubs, where 26 are required, so about 240 or so more than required. And then 16 grasses additionally, where I don't believe any grass is required. All right, moving on here to ancillary approvals. Couple I want to hit on here. We have Hunterdon County SCD certification dated 4/1/2025. We have Hunterdon County Planning Board approval dated 2/12/2025. We have a DOT loanee received November 17, 2025. We have fire marshal approval dated October 21, 2025, which we will provide your office and confirm that, in fact, did review and confirm this exhibit is acceptable. All right, and I'm going to get into outstanding review letters here a little bit. To start, we've reviewed the latest traffic letter prepared by Jake Troutman dated 12/15/2025 and can comply with all of his comments. The exhibit I just showed should satisfy the one at the entrance. We've reviewed the latest water and sewer letter prepared by RVE dated 9/4/2025 and will comply with all their comments as well. We've actually resubmitted and hopefully have addressed all their comments at this time. We've reviewed the latest planner letter prepared by KMA dated 12/14/2025. We'll work with Beth's office to address all comments other than what was previously outlined in testimony, including to start number 4.4, which is relating to signage. The architect is going to touch more on some signage relating to the application after me. And then 4.5 has to do with eliminating this queue lane. As I talked about earlier, we did have a pre-app with the town to discuss this. We moved it back as far as we could. We can't eliminate a queue lane and go down to one. Just operationally, we can't have a single lane because you need a members and a non-members lane. If you don't have that, the operation doesn't work, and there'd be no benefit to getting a membership. Moving on to the engineering letter prepared by Bob Clerico at Van Cleef dated 12/15/2025. We'll continue to work with his office to address all comments other than the following items I'm going to outline below. Starting with A4B, B4, C2, AI1. And this is regarding a further reduction in impervious surfaces. As I testified to, we are reducing impervious on lot 6 and lot 5 in the proposed conditioning. We believe we're doing what we need to there. Next, A5B. This is regarding water and sewer department review. I just want to note that we have received letters from them. We're working with their office to address all comments. It sounded like the board may not have received a copy of their letter, but you may have that, it sounds like now, which is good. So again, we're working with them to satisfy anything they have concern of. We can get them a report outlining more of this water and sewer if we need to, and we can detail that.
What was the date of the latest letter?
It's 9/4/2025.
That was a letter from who?
That's from RVE.
RVE Water and Sewer Department, yes.
RVE is the borough engineers.
Yeah.
It's a sub-consultant that they use. Yes. And then next year, B1, III, B2, and B3. These are regarding existing easements on the site. I'm gonna pick this one for John.
Right. So,
Excuse me, I understand what you're trying to accomplish here, but I think it would be more
It's better
continuity.
for the board if we went through the
When we
letter.
go through the letter, you could respond,
That's fine.
because
That's
quite
fine.
honestly,
That's fine.
I kind of missed half the stuff.
So if your testimony is just gonna be on those review letters, do you have any other testimony to give?
There you go. We got one more page. It's a summary. That's all.
Okay, so do the summary, we're gonna go through the letters, but we're almost looking at the clock, we usually take a break, so to do.
All right, I'm trying to go.
No, don't go fast, wanna get this right, so.
Did we get a copy of the November 9th, 2025? Sewer water?
Yeah, so the RVE letter is something we're gonna need to see.
I have a copy.
You have a copy? You give
So
us-
that's why we're gonna.
Very good. Oh,
So why don't you,
Sure, I'll
finish
close
up
up.
and then we're gonna have a break, so we can do all that.
You got it. All right, so in summary, Spark Car Wash is excited for this opportunity to revitalize a tired vacant site with many improvements to the current conditions such as green space, landscaping, lighting, like I talked about, and site circulation. And we look forward to working with the borough in the future. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you. So but like I said, we usually take a break at around 9. So we're gonna pause here. We can get that documentation. If we have it, that'd be fantastic. And then when we come back in, we'll have questions. We'll go through the review letters, the testimony of the engineer from our professionals, with the questions from members of the board and questions from members of the public. And we'll see where we are time wise.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Pause. So we're gonna come back to order. It is 9:05. If we could just retake the roll to make sure everyone's here.
Sure, Mayor Farah? Yes. Councilwoman Zara?
Adrian, are you there? You have to, you muted.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
I don't have to call Mike's name.
Mike's in here.
Ms. Weissman?
Yeah.
Ms. Fungal? Here. Mr. Show?
Here.
Here.
Mr. Payne?
Yes. Here.
Mayor Ribbonsbow?
Thank you. So I want to thank the applicant for giving us a copy of the RBE letter from September 4th, 2025.
We mark that as 810.
Let's mark that as 810. We just appreciate the extra minute or two to make copies and email the digital version. So the board members who are remote, it should be in your inboxes. I'll probably just send that out to you as well. Just so you have that. So let's go through the review letters. It's probably best to start with Mr. Darko's letter because I think that'll be the bulk of it. And I know that Mr. Wood said that comply with most, but not all. So what we tend to do is we'll let our professionals walk through the letter on the areas where there are some discussion items. And so rather than we read off a whole bunch of letters that we're not going to remember, we're gonna let we'll start with Bob and then we'll go through the other letters. Sounds good.
All right, so we'll start then on page 5. General comments. Again, this letter, there was a prior letter I wrote back in October when I thought we were going to have this hearing. And then, as I indicated at the beginning of this, subsequent information came in as a result of their additional title search and effectively relating to the TD Bank issue, although there was other elements that were incorporated at the same time. And then it was, and the board never discussed or considered any of those original comments. So now that we have new documentation coming in, what I did here is I repeated in italic font the original comments from report number 3, and then added, and hopefully this will get too confusing. In bold type, the new comments that are coming in as a result of, so you can see what was originally said, things that are no longer applicable. I caught them all. I tried to cross out in the original comments. I added new comments. So if we start basically on the top of page 6, this is the first comment dealing initially with what we thought was an issue with the TD Bank. And I'm indicating on here, we have the revised map. Now you heard from the attorney that they did further title search. They apparently found a recorded copy of the deed that did transfer title on that. You heard from the engineer that they revised the survey to reflect that. So what you're looking at now, and the two witnesses the attorney and the engineer can confirm this. But what they're now representing is that the boundary of lot 5 that they're reflecting on the maps that are currently before you is in fact an accurate representation of what's out there.
Correct.
Okay. And I believe, I know, John, you submitted the letter referencing this, but it was to the extent that there are documents that you're referring to, like the deed of record, and Carol might end up asking for this anyway, it would probably be beneficial to actually attach the quote evidence with that to say, yeah, here's the document that essentially did.
Sure.
Only from the standpoint that we were presented with one set of facts, and now we're presenting with a different set of facts.
Yep.
So,
What did you do on there, Bob? You want
opposite. Item 2 goes into just an assessment of what's on this particular property. And you've heard the testimony on this. You have the 15,000 square foot retail center. You have a 30-foot wide common access road easement, which was described as coming in from Route 202 through this site and actually connects with the Shops of Flemington. It's the Shops of Flemington. I don't want to say it's their major access, but it's where they put their sign out on 202. It's one of their main entrances into the shop, albeit it serves this property and other properties, but it's the main entrance into the shops at Flemington. You have this 32-car parking lot that is on this particular lot 5, but the applicant is not counting it toward their existing parking because it's leased to McDonald's, and I'm assuming that's an exclusive lease of some sort.
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have, can you provide documentation?
We submitted,
That's-
with our last submittal memorandum of lease.
Okay.
As the
Right, I
terms,
saw that.
correct.
That was the amendment, right? Is that?
It was the
what we're talking
amendment,
about?
correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't the original lease. It was-
Not the original.
Yeah,
but
which
it
we
was-
can't find.
I think, that was what was provided to me.
Okay.
And I thought it reflected the appropriate terms. in
It's
there.
only about 2.5 pages, and I think
Yeah.
it just dealt with the revised
Yeah, just
description.
a revised description and it just extended it for
Yeah,
every year with the period of time.
correct,
For
yeah, till 32 with a 5-year
Couple
extension,
5-year
yeah.
extensions, correct.
We don't normally go into the weeds like this on it,
Yeah.
but there's such a varied history with this particular property. There's so many things that have occurred. Some may be recorded properly, some maybe not recorded properly, different parties with different interests and elements. I think it would be helpful, especially since this applicant is relying on a part of that particular property for this particular lease as part of this application. I think this is more than an opportunity. I think we have an obligation to try to dot the i's, cross the t's, and have a record here of what's actually going on out there. Item D is now off the table. When we did this originally, we thought the TD Bank, because it was represented as such, was actually on this property. They never sold, yada, yada. So that item is crossed out because they've now, again, documenting that in fact, that title transfer actually did occur. We have a 24-foot wide common access easement, which ties into the 30-foot easement, goes through the TD Bank and goes out to Rayville Avenue. We're gonna probably want to, we can get to other
We're talking
elements.
about that, Doug. I don't know if you want to point that out since we're talking about it, probably on the
Overall.
So the easement you mentioned earlier was this.
Let's just
30-foot
reference which one.
yeah, I guess we probably need to put it on the screen too.
Looks like a
A5.
5.
Yeah, it's A5.
Yes.
Here's exhibit A5. This is a 30-foot easement to the Shops of Flemington Bob was talking about.
I was looking on screen, I'm just moving the cursor through there.
Yeah, and then the second easement he's talking about is here through into TD Bank. That's the second easement.
And it's a common easement that works both ways. But actually, effectively benefits this particular property.
Correct.
And then we have the issue with parking. I'm gonna skip over parking because we have a bit of a factual dispute here that we're gonna have to resolve at some point. So item 2 is just kind of going through the history of what we have here, just kind of documenting what we're dealing with from a title standpoint on the property. Item 3, most of that is gone. I'm indicating it was gonna be a challenge to assess this because the TD Bank was actually, I thought, on this property, but turns out that it's not. So if we just go to the Papa's page 7 and just look at the new comment, that the site plan is reflecting, is now consistent with the survey, the updated survey that reflects the boundary of lot 5, which removes the area of McDonald's, is actually, removes the leased area for McDonald's as well as the portions of the bank on the TD Bank, which was actually merged with the adjoining lot 8. So this property now no longer has title out all the way out to Rayville Avenue. It has access rights through TD Bank, through what was just mentioned earlier, but they no longer own out to, and that land is now no longer part of the property in question, lot 5. Again, I think we heard some testimony on this earlier. Item 6, we're dealing with the parking. This is where we get into a little bit. I went through this several times. And, you know, we did have a conversation earlier with Doug on this, and he says his office went through it several times. We have a discrepancy in how many parking spaces are actually out there. I think we eventually just have to get together and count them together and come up with a common thing on this. But I went through. And I'm only doing this not from the standpoint that we lack parking. It's actually the reverse situation. We have excess parking here. And I'm just trying to document for the record, what exactly is the excess? I think at the end of the day, when you go through all the gyrations here, I was saying there's 76 extra spaces. I believe in your count, you said there was 80 something.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. We have and it shouldn't be, it's a factual issue. So we have to get together and figure out count them and agree that, yeah, this is the number. Irrespective, there's an excess amount of parking on this particular site between what's existing, what's proposed, and in the proposed condition. Again, they're losing spaces as a result of this particular construction with the access lanes and whatnot. And then we went into what's required. Again, the requirement here is a very low threshold based on what the testimony you heard earlier. But we do have other uses on the property which have to be taken into consideration. And then again, to take the difference between what's out there and what's required, and that gives you your excess. I say at 77, I came up with a slightly higher number. Irrespective, there's more parking here. We both agree there's more parking here than what is otherwise required for any of the existing or proposed uses that are before the board. I had asked at the bottom of this thing, we don't really have a plan as part of the set that actually shows the overall site with the parking. We have a survey we can go to. We have sort of a site plan here. I think we need as part of the site plan, something that shows the overall site, whatever it's going to be.
We could include this into the set and add some notation,
Some guys
labeling,
need some
something
notes.
like that. Yep.
I prefer larger scale than smaller scale, but be that as it may. And item B, we're getting into impervious coverage. Again, I'm going through the zoning criteria here. Impervious coverage. You heard testimony, and again, there was a change in the numbers from the plan we had earlier that I initially reviewed in report 3 and report number 4. And that's not necessarily from a change in the plan. It's a refinement of the calculation from what I got. And you heard earlier, I'm coming up with on what I'm calling the impervious coverage ratio for lot 5 is 0.83, along with the new surface features for lot 6, which is 75. Both of those existing conditions, existing proposed conditions, are still exceeding the ordinance standard for 0.70 under this particular zone. We have this other standard in the background of 0.5, which is the section 26, whatever it's called.
37.
Yeah, I guess that could be 2637. But that may get overridden on the stormwater side, since they are now a major project and we're dealing with the DEP standards. Go on here in the third checkpoint to say that indicates that the applicant has reduced the impervious rate as a result of the extensive landscaping on both lot 5 and 6. However, upon comparison of the current versus the prior plan, it wasn't clear to me exactly what areas of additional landscaping you added. And I'm not just talking about how many more plants you may have put in a thing. I'm actually talking about open impervious surfaces. It just wasn't clear to me where you actually added between the plan we initially saw and reviewed and the plan we're reviewing today. So in that regard, I highlighted this. In that regard, the applicant has not addressed my original comment, which was highlighted above. The original comment was that given the amount of given the existing impervious coverage situation that exceeds the ordinance, given the fact we have an overabundance of parking here, that we really should make an effort. Maybe we can't get down to the 70% threshold, but we should make an effort to reduce this in whatever ways seems to be practical. Beth had certain ideas. I threw out some other issues in later in the report where we may deal with this. You are dealing with some conditions like the setback condition on the road that's, albeit it's existing pavement today, we are totally redoing this site effectively. That might be an area if this thing got pushed back where you might be able to pick up some pervious areas and thereby reduce impervious coverage.
So before we move on to the next part of Butler, do you have a kind of a response to what, because we've got comments in 2 professional letters about potential over parking and potential impervious. Is there something you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I could talk about that a little bit. To clarify, from our initial submission to what you're looking at now, there was no further quote significant reduction. The number changed merely based on the constraints of the lot. So that's why we said it didn't change. We didn't further decrease impervious area, but our initial submission, like I outlined before, we are decreasing impervious by almost 6,000 square feet across this development. And we believe that is adequate in this case.
I just add in, we've got a leasehold interest for that area that's basically outlined. So we're doing what we can there. Now, we don't control of the remainder of lot 5. We're obviously here though as an applicant. If there are thoughts or suggestions, if we were to do anything outside of our leasehold area, that's a discussion we're gonna have with ownership. Right now, we're saying there's an overabundance of parking, but they may have changes in tenancy and use in their other buildings, and we're cognizant of that.
So let me just, if I could ask a clarifying question then, have you calculated, what's the square foot of your lease area? If we were to take all of lot 6 and the lease area in control of lot 5, what's the total amount of lease area? And then what is the total, I know that's not how zoning works, but what is the total impervious coverage of that combined lease area?
So the total lease area is 1.06 acres. And that's, again, that's lot 6 plus what's shown in red.
Yep.
Correct.
Actually, if you look at if you look at sheet 301, it's actually documented on sheet 301. And that number that you just quoted is listed there, the 1.06.
Right, so I see 1.06, it's 45,956 square feet property with concept. Okay, so have you done the impervious calculation if you were to count the full lease area as opposed to doing it lot by lot?
I have it lot by lot on the plan. I can run a quick number and get you that right now, though. That's what you're looking for.
I would love to have that number.
Yeah, sure.
Well, this is gonna go back to you're doing impervious coverage based on the property, not based on lease.
I understand, but the board is being asked to grant relief on this, and I think if the site is functioning as a lease area, and the applicant's attorney has made given testimony that they're not the owner and they're operating within a lease area, ownership, it's got a question with ownership. It would help us, I think, understand or at least adjudicate the relief that's being requested for this. If we think about this as the lease area operating as a unit, even though I know they're looking for relief broken up by lot size because that's what the law will.
Or possibly broader, depending on the answer to merging.
The merging question, which I know is out there as well.
We'll talk more about that.
Yeah. Lucky.
Let me run a calculation on that. Can we come back to that?
We could absolutely come back to it. I think that, and I'm just gonna warn you, I guess my other questions have to do with like, what does that mean for your setbacks? What does that mean for your lot size? What does that mean for your the lighting? Because one of the things you give testimony for, and we're gonna get back to lighting in a minute, is lighting because you're above the foot candles at the border of the lot line between 6 and 5, because so that you need relief from the design standard. But if we consider this as a leased property, what does the foot candle look like in the bound? I'm gonna ask a bunch of those questions, so I'm just letting you know.
If they can't answer all the questions tonight, it might be a great follow-up submittal to the board. How would this, if you assume the lease area were lot lines for the sake of your testimony, how would the site comply or not? Perhaps it's more compliant if you think about the 2 lease areas together.
And again, I'm not asking this for you to say that these are merging lots. I'm saying that it would help us understand the context of the relief that we're being asked to grant. That's
Again, their lease area, unless they renegotiate something, is what it is.
correct.
The lot areas in the zoning associated that is really affected by whether we're dealing with 2 lots or 1 lot there.
Right. So I'm just with that, okay. So the engineer's answer, I think, is unimpervious. So Bob, if you want to go to,
Yeah, I'll continue on. So outdoor storage, there was an issue here initially with existing outdoor storage. They did, work it out with the owner. The owner's gonna remove what was, I don't call it illegal. It was, not unauthorized outdoor storage on the parking lot. Apparently, the zoning official, there is 1 trailer, that they're showing on the plan. Again, if we go back to, as part of the submission, something showing the overall property, showing the trailer, showing the area that it's gonna be occupied, show the rest of the parking on here. I think that would, they seem to have solved the problem. I just think we need some sort of a plan sheet that's gonna show, collectively what that is. Existing easements and modifications. And this is where this site gets to be a bit of a quagmire. There's 48 recorded easements. As part of the initial title search, they found 48. Apparently, they found others now because there's other recorded documents that weren't revealed initially. And the easements, a lot of them deal with utilities, a lot of them deal with the access we referred to earlier, if we in fact caught them all. As I was indicating on here, as part of processing the application, it would be appropriate for the borough to determine if any of the easements granting utility rights used to be relocated or vacated. Again, I wasn't aware that they were having a separate approval and conversation with borough water, so apparently they've made progress there. I just saw the letter tonight. I just was handed the letter tonight, so I'm not exactly sure where they are in that process. Your testimony about how they're relocating the sewer line at the request of the borough. I don't know if we heard necessarily anything about water or water even affected water lines on here. But again, the site is kind of riddled with all kinds of easements that are probably, some of them probably should have been extinguished, some irrespective of that. Again, just trying to get the record straight as to what's on this property and what's affected by what's being proposed, so that we get the right parties who have any vested interest in those easements to sign off, so we understand if the board's approving this, that there's other entities other than the applicant or the owner who has some say in what's being proposed here. That was item A. Item B. I was asking just again for better clarity and detail on the plan. Again, this was an older comment. We've gotten additional information on this, so the new comments on here that we have a revised sheet 501, which indicates easements that are being removed and replaced, including the sewer line and the gas line. Again, that's going to require any approval that the board might grant here would have to be conditioned on ultimately documenting the proper vacation and rededication of easements associated with the approval process. Second check mark on here was there's an existing drain pipe on here. Perhaps Doug, you may want to just test it. There's an existing drain pipe that's being relocated or repositioned. And what I was saying here, I didn't quite understand why that was even necessary.
yeah, sure.
And this is not a borough drain pipe or anything. This is an on-site private
That's
drain
correct.
line. Okay.
Private drain line. So the underground pipe is, this is in A7.
Share the right one.
Okay.
A7. All right, this is A7 shown on the screen as well. Simply, there's an existing drain pipe here. We're proposing to reset it. It's a stormwater drain. We're gonna lower the invert about an inch. The reason for that is we need it to be a little bit lower at this point to tie in.
So it's a vertical adjustment you need to make in order to get your proposed on-site system.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you for the clarification. Again, here I was asking, we're dealing with some relatively small scale plans. And there's a benefit to what the applicant did, and there's also a detriment. They're in all their plans, they're leaving the underlying image, the photograph there. It's kind of nice, but in many of the plans, when you're just dealing with proposed conditions, it's really superfluous information and it makes the plan hard to read as to what really is going on as in the proposed condition. Because effectively in the existing condition, they're pretty much ripping everything out anyway. So how what's proposed relates to what's there is really not, in my opinion, not really useful. And in this case, it kind of clutters the plan up.
We can freeze that.
I would think,
No
yeah,
problem.
I think a lot of this would be a lot clearer just by doing it. Again, I was going to the issue that the board shouldn't vote on this until they had Board of Water, and so again, I was working on the premise that there was no contact here whatsoever. But again, I think we need to see what the comments are so far today, and we need to have a good sense that the borough, at least in principle, is accepting what they're proposing, because without these relocations, they really don't have a project. So again, now that we have the correspondence, we can read it. If we have any questions on the borough water and sewer, we could certainly ask those. And unfortunately, we don't have Meg here with us tonight, but be that as it may. That was the last check mark there. Again, I don't think the board should vote. We have some clarity on at least the public line for that being relocated, which in this case here would be the sewer. Going on to page 10. Again, I was asking the applicant's attorney to review the findings of the additional title document search that was provided and have Kara advised him how if the prior approval should be taken into consideration in regard to review of the new proposal. I don't know to what extent we want to go deeper with that tonight, because I know that you guys are going to have to talk about the other issue.
Yeah, and can I get copies of all the documentation referenced in that November 24th memo? So I could take a look at that, because there's a lot of comments and I don't.
It's about this how.
I know.
Sort through you really should just sort through what you found that is applicable.
Yeah, exactly, because I mean, I think there's a lot of findings here and I really don't have any reason to deny that what you're saying is true. For instance, none of the documents appear to be relevant. You're probably absolutely right. I think the most important things that we'll need to see are the access easement comments, just to double check, whether any consents are going to be necessary from any other parties to the easements, property owners for the relocations. But I just want to, for the board's edification, double check that. So maybe if it's really just the portions that we're talking about here.
Yep, we'll go over that.
All right, thanks, sir.
Item 5B, top of page 10, not top of this, going on. This is dealt with the environmental commission that was suggesting originally to get comments from the environmental commission, and I was in more recent asking for clarification on the underground water contamination. You heard that tonight, and I guess there's some supplemental documentation that's going to be provided to kind of confirm what you said.
Yeah, we can submit the ESAs.
And I don't, maybe I missed it, but do we have comments from the environmental commission on this project?
Yes.
Yes,
We do, I guess. Again, this has been going on for a while. There's a lot of, I try to keep track of what we have, but if it's not listed in my report, that means either I don't have it or I didn't realize I don't have it.
You got you, Bob.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Parking and site circulation is item B. Again, the original comments here dealt with, and maybe we should talk about this a minute. This project, by constructing this building, they actually need to build into what is right now a 30-foot wide common access easement. It's the main easement coming in from 202 that goes to the shops to Flemington. It may benefit other properties besides them, but it certainly it's an encumbrance on this particular property. But it provides access to adjoining properties. There's two elements to that. There's the intersection with the state highway. The applicant is physically not making any physical changes to the intersection itself, which is why I assume DOT issued their letter of no interest, because you're physically not working in the, you're not changing, it's currently an entrance only, and you're not physically doing anything with the right of way. But you are encroaching into what is now a 30-foot wide easement that benefits others. I think the board needs to know, and maybe this goes back to the discussion you're going to have with Kara. if there's other parties that have some say in this, who are benefiting from this easement, I think we need to know. If it's not just the owner of the property you're dealing with, that we.
Yeah, our position in that, it is an access easement. We're continuing to provide the same access that has been provided essentially from the outset. Shops at Flemington continue to have unfettered access off of 202 into their site. But we'll talk about it.
I'm not arguing the
Yeah.
point one way, I'm just saying, we just need to know if there's another entity that,
This is the entrance by the
big sign,
sign that changes.
the shops, the
On 202.
Yeah,
Yes,
The 30 foot or the 20?
That's a 30, it's
30
it's identified as a 30-foot easement.
and it's pretty wide. And again, as they indicated, with the restaurant there, it was a two-way driveway. I gather when they did the 202 circle, it used to be an entrance and exit, but when they did the 202 circle, it just became an entrance.
Correct.
But it is an access into the shops at Flemington. I think if we're acting on this, I think Kara needs to be convinced that either the shops at Flemington have no say over this, or if they do, you may want to, maybe a condition of approval, where you get something from them that they have, they're okay with it.
I just make a comment on that, please, because I've been looking at this too. And to me, that two-way section carries so close to Route 202 now, because Red Crab needed to get people in and out of the front parking lot. With that no longer being necessary, I think it's a better traffic flow situation to have that one-way section elongated, because people should not be coming that close to 202 and then finding out they can't get out. So I kind of like the circulation change and making that a one-way for a longer stretch, just from a functional standpoint. And then the other thing I noticed in the traffic report, while you might think this is a very primary ingress, they're only counting 7 cars turning in there in a weekday PM peak hour and 17 on a Saturday peak hour. So it doesn't seem like right now a lot of existing tenants are using it. I believe obviously with the car wash, it'll get much more active, but just 2 comments from a traffic standpoint on that help the board.
Again, the site has a lot of history to it, and a lot of things have happened, and a lot of conditions have been imposed and easements dedicated. Again, we just need to sort through it. If they no longer have any implication, that's fine. We just need to check them off. And make
So
sure
your
we
concern, Bob, just make sure I'm hearing this, your concern is that at some point, in some prior approval, maybe it's the shop of Flemington, maybe it's somebody else adjoining the property, that this access, this easement was part of that application, part of that, maybe even part of their approvals, if there is a change to this. And so you want documentation, you're suggesting that we need some documentation on who might have, the applicant's testimony here is that they're still maintaining access, but
there may be language in the easement itself that says no beneficiaries of the easement, like the meets and bounds of the easement should not be changed, or the directional of the easement shall not be changed in any way without the consent of all beneficiaries of the easement.
right.
It could, I don't know, it probably doesn't based upon John's representation, but I think maybe it's just something you wanna.
We'll go over it.
Yeah.
I think we've actually submitted all that. I think it's in the share file and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll resend it.
That's great.
So again,
So you're Raritan Township's traffic engineer, right?
Yes.
So back in the day, there was always talk about making where the shops of Flemington enters behind McDonald's on Rayville Avenue. That was supposed to be a frontage road running all the way down
The Voorhees
to
corner.
Voorhees. Is that still on their plans? Because
Yes.
they also have
It's still on their,
bearing
plan.
why
yeah.
this wider road, and we also have to, I think we have an obligation to protect that.
Here.
It was supposed to go,
It's not on our master.
it's not on our master plan, but it takes traffic. It does serve our businesses, like the shops of Flemington. So it's not on us, but I just wanna know if it's still on there, and if that has any bearing to why, you know, anything about this road and the easement.
I think it's more of a north-south connector from the signal at Rayville
Yes,
through that main aisle that's kind of to
yeah,
the
getting
east of this
out of
area.
Reagan Ridge.
Yeah, and then I do know on the properties further north in Raritan, there are some environmental issues with feasibility of ever making that connection.
Yes,
And some county
absolutely.
issues with ever
Yeah.
getting an access to Holy's Corner right here.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Exactly, it was always a long-term plan of the townships.
Correct.
And so when they, you know, with all the planning that was done on some of these other sites, they always protected. I know that was always being protected,
That's correct.
right?
And it's an ancillary easement, probably has less significance, but nevertheless, it pulls in the same category. It goes through the TD Bank, goes around the front of the TD Bank. I tend to think that was to benefit this property and not necessarily TD Bank. But again, it's the changing of the, what is now, as Jay said, a partially two-way access road to a one-way somewhat affects that. Again, no one may have any interest in it, they may not care, but we just need to know that if they have some sort of a sign off, if there's a box that has to be checked, we have to make sure the box gets checked. The item, item double I in here was the truck turning you saw an exhibit is gonna become part of the plan. And we actually saw another exhibit relating to the fire truck, which is also gonna become part of the plan. Triple I encroachment.
Same thing as before.
Same thing, yeah, okay, and these are all different items in the different elements of the site, but they have a common theme running through it.
Come on to.
Yeah. Go on to two, okay, that's again, the consent issue relating to a different aspect of the project. Item 3 is probably something similar. It's not impressed with, again, consent from the owner on whatever that specific item related to. Item 4. Again, this goes into the parking count. I'm saying they have 70 more spaces. Doug in his count was coming up with, I think, more than that. The ordinance, although projects contains significant reduction in impervious land. We're back to this issue of what's a significant reduction and whether there's some elements of this plan where removing some impervious coverage actually has an alternative or an alternate benefit. And I think I have one of these coming up in the letter. Item 5. Okay, yeah, item 5 is I think Jay had this mentioned earlier, and maybe Doug, you could point this out. On lot 5, in the area where you have the dumpster and the entrance into your lane, in there, you actually have, and maybe you can point this out, you actually have traffic from the adjoining parking lot comes out, crosses, and kind of goes in a different direction from the traffic coming in. You have like a cross circulation movement going on in there. What I was suggesting here is, and I think Jay brought this up as well, that it would probably be beneficial to all parties if that were closed off somehow. And maybe perhaps in a closing off that would become an island, a landscaped island that would sort of separate this major access point coming in from what's existing on the remaining property. Maybe that would help reduce impervious coverage and that would help, clear up some of the traffic circulation in that particular area and sort of isolate this element of the site, which is going to be a major, from a traffic standpoint, at least a major traffic generator from the other elements of the site, which essentially is the back of the retail center.
Can you put up the car stacking exhibit instead,
Sure.
please? I'm just gonna piggyback before you respond.
Sure.
There
you go. This one?
Yeah, that's.
This is a 6.
So this area, I was gonna ask you when I had a chance to ask a question, what the purpose of all this switchback is through here, because to me, this wants to be just a line of cars one way like this, just in case it gets a little longer. You can stack cars like this. And if you could somehow like close that off like Bob's saying and just give them like a cut through there instead.
Yeah, so we understand your comment. We think it's fair, and I've talked to Spark about this, and we can make a modification here to improve this access, eliminate a conflict point. You know, maybe add a little bit more green space in this area, move this trash dumpster up here. So effectively this would become, you'd come down, hit a trash enclosure, and then what I think we would need to do, you'd still need to maintain some sort of traffic flow here. So we'd likely lose 4 to 6 parking stalls in this area. So you come down, you'd still be able to navigate down this way if you need to, rather than, you don't want to create a dead end scenario, right? So you could come to this point, instead of having to turn around and go back here, we could modify this area, come through, and then there could still be a two-way, you know, somewhere in this portion, but it would separate basically car wash operations from anyone coming this way. And then they would essentially come down here. If they need to enter the car wash, they can do that, or they can continue straight. And I think this would definitely increase the stacking. So we agree to comply with that.
Yeah, so
Just,
yeah,
maybe
folks
just
on
on
the
this,
right-hand
maybe
side.
on this exhibit, if you can just explain that.
Sure.
Up on screen.
So for everyone on the screen, that's this area right here. Essentially what we would be doing is we would be extending a landscape island and placing the trash enclosure towards this area. And it would separate the Spark facility entrance from anyone coming southbound down this drive aisle. We would be redirecting that traffic along these existing parking spaces. We would lose approximately probably 4 to 8 parking stalls in lot 5 in this case, and this further, I think, agrees with Bob's comments regarding reducing more impervious, adding some more green space, trying to, you know, bring that non-compliance down a little bit more there. So
Would that impact the leased area? You have to expand that a little bit to relocate the dumpster.
We'll talk about
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah, what I'm doing this for, I'm not advocating just to remove parking spaces for the sake of removing parking. If we can see a benefit someplace where there's a benefit to
It
the
seems like a
plan.
good spot to pick up some pervious coverage.
Item 6, again, this is gonna go back more to the board. Some of the relief you're gonna be asked to approve in here was, I heard relief on the buffering along Route 202. The applicant's indicating that they're maintaining what is currently there in the way of a buffer, albeit they're basically taking the whole site that's there out of commission and putting something new in. They're basically trying to hold, the proposal to kind of hold the boundary of what's there and ask for relief associated with that. And in the same element, there's also a variance for the, I guess, what are they, kiosk or whatever, what do you refer to them, those things?
That's a kiosk structure, yep.
Accessory structures, there's
Yes.
another variance associated with that. Again, I was just pointing out that that might be the area, again, the board's gonna have to vote on variance relief or design waivers or whatever category it falls into. But that might be an area where if this, and we heard, the reason I asked the question earlier about this prototype, they're dealing with a set building here that they're essentially trying to position on a lot within existing conditions. Hence their need to encroach into the 30-foot easement, hence their necessity by trying to stay within the property lines of the current lot and minimize their lease area is to push this thing up closer. That's the driving elements here of what's driving it. If to the extent that this can be shifted back a little bit, they might be able to meet the buffer. They're gonna probably still need relief on the kiosks in the front, but it might be less, might be less of an intrusion. And this thing may have to shift again. If these lots don't exist as lots, then we're really kind of tying ourselves in a Gordian knot here, trying to deal with something that may not even be an issue necessarily. But again, that was the intent. That was another suggestion under item 6. Again, only because it's something the board, I think, is gonna have to grant relief from, and you may want to take that into consideration, the applicant may want to take that into consideration. So I'm gonna kind of skip over stormwater management. There are some things that they're going to do. There's some things in here that we had suggested. I think just going reducing impervious coverage to some extent, starts to help lessen the impact. Again, we're still dealing with our section 26, whatever it is, on the alternate side of this, where they're supposed to, irrespective of the state regulations on the local level, they're supposed to make attempts to, to reduce impervious coverage or improve water quality. I think the only question in here I asked Doug, and maybe a document, I think it was under the top of page 13, is to document you're actually reducing motor vehicle service. It wasn't clear to me that you actually are.
Yes.
But you say you are, and I think we just need a document. I'm not sure that's documented.
If you look in the revised stormwater report I submitted, it should be documented on.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's not do that tonight. Look, if part of your response on this could be you look on page, whatever,
Okay.
you'll suck at
Yes, it is a reduction.
it. Most of these some of these stormwaters, they address, some of they partially addressed. And some of these, I think we just need the water quality standard. I'm not sure what the element you suggested, but you say there's a mechanical device you could use to improve water quality.
Yeah, it's called a snout. You put it at the discharge point. It basically collects any oils or things along those lines.
Okay, so you can provide, you provide details on it. So there's on the stormwater stuff, there's stuff they have addressed, there's things they could better enhance by reducing some impervious coverage. There's elements that they could provide. Ultimately, as we act on this application, we have to say they've complied with the state stormwater regulations. We have no ability to grant relief from those. So it sounds like they're on the path to do that. It just has to be documented. I was at, there is existing infrastructure on this site. I don't know that. Again, as an owner of the property, they're supposed to be documenting their maintenance and functioning of those with the borough on a yearly basis. I don't know whether they are or not, but they certainly need to know that that's going to certainly be a condition of this, even though you're not owning the property.
We would have our own.
Yeah. Some quality standards. Well, see, a breakdown chart again on the values. That was more
That's
documentation issue. Groundwater recharge standards. We heard you testify about groundwater. So you say you're going to give us documentation saying there is no groundwater contamination or it's not affecting the property.
Right.
Phase 1 and 2.
All right. Maintenance requirements. This first one was addressed, partially addressed. Again, we need document. There is existing stormwater infrastructure here. The owner is supposed to be filing, there should be an operation owner and manual filed with it. I think you're providing one. It's going to need to get recorded. And henceforth going forward, whoever the entity responsible for the maintenance, that's going to have to keep their maintenance logs and documenting that with the borough.
Yep, we'll read that.
Let's go to page 15, last page. Lot grading. I'm sure you looked into this. I'm sure you're not creating a problem, but we are putting curbing and it's a little hard to tell how this existing lot drains through this particular area, especially the area to the north of you. You do have some spot grades in certain areas. Again, I think with that photograph underneath, it makes it really hard to understand what's going on. We need to know that whatever water is flowing off of this site, that what you're doing in here is not going to block something off, or if it is, you're going to we have to make sure you put an inlet in or something along that line.
Yeah, if we can freeze that off, we'll add additional spot shots, arrows, and all that sort of stuff that can help depict exactly.
More just so we can see that you're not creating a
Yeah,
problem.
we'll comply with that.
Yeah. Lighting and landscaping deferred to Beth and the agencies you heard where they stand with those.
Thanks, Bob. So let me go to Jay's letter next. Testimony we've already given by the applicant said that they're going to comply with the letter. Jay, do you have other questions?
No, I only had two things left, which has already been said. They have excess parking. They have a parking utilization study in the traffic report that has actual counts of how little that parking is used right now. And then just talking about the car stacking storage capacity, it sounds like we're going to be improving that. And maybe just for the traffic engineer, when that's up, he could maybe give us some maximum Q observations from some of the existing sites to see how that matches up with the 19 or the more we're gonna get. That's it.
Good, thanks. Beth, as the engineer, your letter.
Sure, I think a lot of my comments have been addressed already, and I think some of these others are gonna be better for the architect, perhaps follow-up hearings. But notwithstanding, let me just take a look at my memo dated December 14th. So, I had some comments in regard to the kiosk, but that may be for the architect. I had some comments regarding signage. I suspect that may also be for the architect. For the landscape plan, item 4.6, I'm on page 6 for those that are following along. I had a handful of comments in the landscape plan. I heard you say that you'll address the street tree spacing. Are these other items something that we can agree to as well?
That's correct, yes, we can address A through B.
I do want to, let me, before I skip over this and get too far away, I want to recognize item 4.5, and that's something that we've talked about from Bob's memo. Essentially, I'm looking for a greater setback. I thought I heard the testimony, eliminating a drive aisle really just doesn't work for the function of the car wash facility, but I think there's an opportunity to eliminate perhaps one row of the vacuum cleaners. So essentially 2 of those parking spaces that would give you an additional 13 feet.
So are you talking right here?
Yeah, it could be those first 2, yeah.
So I would say yes, we can do that. However, there are dimensional requirements at the entrance and exit for the car wash that we must hold. Really, it comes down to as these cars make their turn into and try to straighten out, they need to be able to get straight so they can enter the tunnel correctly and catch their wheel properly. And then same thing with this on the exit point. If you pull this in too much, it makes it really hard to. It makes it near impossible to turn out.
I can understand that. But I would still ask you to take a look at it from the perspective of maybe there's something that you can do to adjust the landscape. Islands at the rear, just to allow everything to get pushed back a little bit more. Maybe there's something in the lease area, maybe there's a smaller prototype of the building. I think there was testimony that the width is set, but perhaps the length has some play that can be utilized. So I would still ask you to take a look at that because I think it's going to be really helpful for addressing some of the overall concerns I have. While I recognize that this is a permitted use, the reality is that there's going to be a substantial change in terms of how this property is going to look from Route 202. Whether you love the Red Crab building, it was a building that had a substantial presence along the road, and I think it was consistent with what folks expect to see and want to see along the highway corridors. And that's going to be replaced by a much smaller building, particularly from the perspective of width along 202. And the dominant view as a result is going to be those vacuum cleaners. So I think there's an ability to make the frontage of the property look substantially nicer with a little bit of additional setback and greenery along the front.
Okay, we can take a look.
Yeah,
See if
I
there's anything
appreciate that.
possible we can do there.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple of the other comments we had in here. I think you talked about the lighting. The one thing I did want to circle back on, and this is for you, is the potential for turning off those vacuum lights in the evening. I heard you say that you may be willing to, but you have a security concern. So I wonder if it doesn't necessarily need to be all or nothing. How about dimming the lights, bringing them down to security level?
We'll talk about it and circle back and get that better.
Okay, that's great. And then I have comments about the noise, but that's for the architect. And I think my last comment that's not been addressed is I'm looking for a dumpster detail, employee detail. I'm sure you do.
We actually have one on sheet
Oh, is it?
C 904.
Okay.
If you look at that, basically what it is it's a block enclosure detail with wood slatted gates. If you're looking for something else there, I'm sure we can work with you.
I
Point five.
just on the dumpster, I think it's gonna be fine. On the plan that was submitted, it's substantially screened, so I'm not necessarily looking for enhanced materials, although in general, they should be consistent with the building, and if that's done, I'll be satisfied.
Just to piggyback on that, given the testimony earlier that this site, aside from the customers who are cleaning out their cars and stuff, that's the only waste that's generated by this site?
Oh, yes, yeah, that.
I guess the question is, do you need as large a dumpster thing you're proposing here? I mean, you're proposing a pretty standard thing with.
I believe so, due to the amount of cars coming in, the trash does fill up. You don't want to propose something smaller than what's required, then you get overfill and it becomes an issue.
Ask the question.
Question, where do you, if you're out there cleaning out your car that maybe has a ton of trash, where are you taking the trash on the side?
So actually on every one of these vacuums, there is a little, I guess you could call it a trash can attached to it. It's, I don't know, about this big or so, and the employees come through and they will empty those out, and that's when they will bring them to the dumpster. So as a customer, you're never going to this dumpster, it's only the employees.
Okay, that's everything.
Okay, if you could stop sharing so I can see the remote photos. We're gonna go to questions from members of the board on the engineering testimony given. So Dennis has got his hand up, he's unmuted, he's on the top of it, sir.
I want to talk about the water. So if I understood you correctly, you gave two different amounts. They're very consistent. That on average, roughly 16,000 gallons a day of water, of which 11,553 gallons would go to the sewer. So about 27% would be reclaimed. And then on a car basis, 28 gallons per car, 20.89 would go to the sewer, and 7 to 8 would be reclaimed. So it's about 29% reclaimed. Do I have that correct? I know you said they're conservative, but do I have that correct?
Yes, you have that correct. So water, and this is, I'd like to note, this is for will serves and connection fees, and this is a conservative number. But we have data that we can provide to back these numbers up, showing that existing facilities in use are less than this number. And we are willing to provide that to your office. We're willing to provide you guys with hard data that we have from our existing facilities across the state. And we know you're concerned about the water, and we want to make you as comfortable as possible with what our numbers are actually going to be moving forward. And we are more than willing to provide this data, utility bills. We provide a sewer report to the DEP, basically with this information outlining how we get to these numbers, showing that we are conservative. So we are willing to do that, but yes, what you've outlined is correct.
I'm sorry, Dennis, can I just piggyback on you for a second? I don't understand. You're saying it's conservative and you're saying it's will serve. Once that allocation is given to you, you've got that allocation and you can waste all the water you want because you've got that allocation and we can't use it anywhere else.
That's a fair point.
Okay. Go ahead, Dennis, I'm sorry.
No problem. And so using your numbers though, on the 15,894, that's 5.8 million gallons a year, right? You're open 365 days. So that's almost 6 million gallons of water, of which, using those percentages, over 4 million gallons are going into the sewer.
If you were to take that number and apply it, it sounds like what you did was multiply by 365.
Yes.
Yes, but that in reality is not the case. It is not the case.
Well, it is 5.8 million gallons, right? I mean, I'm using your gross number of gallons per day,
Yes, you're
right? So
you're taking
right?
an average, very conservative calculation, and you're making the assumption that that is going to happen every day on a daily basis for 365 days.
Let me clarify. I thought your numbers were, the water is not conservative. The amount that goes in the sewer, I thought you're saying is conservative, the percentage.
Both
Okay.
numbers are very conservative in nature. And we
Then
can.
I guess we need the real numbers, but I understand what Marcia was saying, that if you're allotted it, then we can't use it. I think everyone agrees
And they
that's
can
correct.
waste- And they can waste it all they want.
Yeah, okay. These are huge numbers that are very concerning.
Well, we're gonna be back, and what Mr. Wolf said as well is, we'll come back in with data, and why don't we just revisit this? We're certainly not looking to waste water. We're and we do have systems, and we'll speak about our systems a little bit more too, that are intended to reclaim. We're certainly not looking to spend more on water or any other utilities for that matter than we otherwise need. So if we could just, why don't we just hold that for now?
Well,
And
so I understand what you're saying, and I understand you want to move forward with the rest of the hearing. However, it's gonna not be anyone, it's not gonna be in anyone's best interest if the questions don't all get asked right now, so that
No,
when you come back,
fair,
I want you to have all of the answers
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yep.
So
agreed.
clearly, we need the data that you're relying on, that you've referred to a few times, that you will provide. We're not, we are in present tense, that needs to happen immediately, we need to see the data.
That's fair.
So let's start with that.
Okay, that's fine.
Dennis, do you have other questions that we know?
Oh, that's it for me.
Okay, Melissa or Adrian, do you have questions?
I have none. The water issues, I think, have been reviewed in depth. Thank you.
Melissa,
The water obviously was one of my issues, and I had a quick question regarding the garbage cans that you mentioned on the vacuum islands. Are they going to be open topped? Is there going to be some kind of top to prevent garbage from blowing across the site?
So it's a closed top, however, there's a small hole. 4 to 6 inches in diameter, I would say, that you can place your garbage in. So it does prevent, wind blowing spillage out of the can.
Okay.
You kind of were talking about some stormwater. Is someone gonna go in a little more detail on that, or is it?
If you have specific
Okay,
questions,
so
yes, I can.
the drawing you showed, you had two grates that picked up in the main parking lot between the two vacuums.
Sure.
So if you're pulling out of the car wash, like you just got your car washed, you're coming around. Is there curbing all in there that, because I've seen other car washes and it puts water all the way down to 202 or Route 12.
Yes, so primarily all stormwater is contained within the site. Yes, there's curbing on the extents of this vacuum area, if that's what you're talking about. And the drainage patterns are directed towards these inlets in the center, so.
So that if you're coming out of the wash where you have the red, so like that trek over there where the cars are coming out still wet, but even though the tops are blown off, but the bottoms.
There's a double inlet system right here that water is directed from the tunnel and would flow into here through a curb
Okay.
cut.
Okay,
Yes.
that was one of them. With the owner of this property, I'm just thinking like snow. Like, cause you're kind of using all this parts for vacuums and stuff like that, so
Mhm.
like snow removal, do they take all this off somewhere, or like is it pushed somewhere? You lose vacuum spots, or?
So there is snow removal areas. I would say this is probably primarily one of them. We do not have them denoted on the plans per se. But yes, the lot will be plowed.
Okay, it was just for, but where that is put, if it's on your property, if it's off, not that you're putting on somebody else's property.
No, it'll be stored on site.
And then just a general question, I don't know, where you're coming off the drawing R 3.1.
Is that the rendering? That was one of the ones previously, yeah.
So like if you're coming off of 202 and you turn in, you had that gravel area where, in case somebody had to get out. What's stopping somebody from, the way this is shown here, it's like they could kind of just drive right into the car wash.
Are you saying basically come in and drive in this way?
Yep.
So there's a full height curb here, as well as a minor grade change in this area. So you would hit the curb if you were to drive straight into it.
Okay, so there, yeah, cause just when you're looking at this one, it kind of, looks.
It's a little more delineated than that. That's a
Yeah, I just wanna
Conceptual.
make sure somebody just can't and go, oh, look, there's our line.
no. They cannot make that
You know,
maneuver.
It's my idea.
Let's see, the curb, and then just that chemical or the water storage tanks that were under the ground.
Mhm.
They're, I guess, supported in a way that if a fire truck went into the vacuum lanes, it's not gonna.
Yes, they're HS rated. They will
Okay.
not collapse.
And chemical storage in the area, there's like no open floor drains that if something happened, it's gonna go into the sewer?
No, so really you're getting to like deliveries and kind of that
Or
sort of
wherever your
So,
storage, like you said, you
no,
get your chemical delivery.
We've got basically grade soaps that are used in this, so they're biodegradable. There's no PFAS. That was actually one of the big main comments. So, we don't have any contaminants that are a part of our system, and they're stored in the building.
Okay. What's it?
I think my only real clarification was just again with it's my fault for not fully reading the fire marshal's letter. And that we're assuming that the fire truck will not be able to pass the kiosks.
That's correct.
Okay.
The fire truck cannot
Not
get
that,
past
but we've
this
kind of
point.
determined that more than likely he'll be able to go in through the vacuums if he needs to.
He can't go through the vacuums. This is more of a worst case scenario that was
Yes,
run.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe not too.
Or if something's
Yes.
blocked or,
Yes.
something along those lines. So, redundancy, access.
So the vacuum area, there's only one way in and out, there's no emergency escape.
So in terms of access point, yes, there's one way in and out here.
So
Technically, it's only an exit. I will say that.
right, but I mean, if a car was on fire or something, people can't. Everybody's gotta go out the same way that the fire truck has to go in.
If a car was on fire, this is the only exit point for people if they were inside, yes. But the fire truck can enter here and extinguish the fire. He can be over here, or he can pull in here. Like I said, if it's blocked off for some, there is also a no block zone here, so no one can park their car here and block that entrance.
What is the material used on the outside of the vacuum area along the northern area, row of vacuum slots?
Are you talking right
Yeah,
back
the
here?
black, yeah, what is that?
So we proposed Riverstone as a maintenance consideration. However, Beth made a comment that she'd like to see some sort of landscaping or plantings there, which we can comply with.
But I mean, is there a fence?
No, there's no fence.
So people can drive through there?
No, there's the curb on both sides.
But as an emergency, people could drive through there
Not
easily?
legally,
Not me.
not legally, and not. I would not recommend it. You'd have to ramp your car up on a curb.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I'm just trying to get some clarification, like if people are gonna get stuck in there or not. Getting back to what Mark was talking about with the snow. So that whole area with the vacuum area, the snow is gonna get pushed out of that area into some other place.
It'll get stored up on where grass is available to be stored. So you'll see.
So like show where, please.
For example, you could put some in this area here. You could put some likely in this area here. The issue with that is we propose so many plantings for planners request and whatnot that snow removal areas are limited. We can box these out on the plans with our revised submission. And if you guys feel that additional areas are warranted, we can maybe reduce a few shrubs here or there to make sure there's adequate storage space.
Okay, and then I guess I'm looking at Kara or your attorney for clarification regarding this merger.
Yeah.
Law rule, whatever it is. If hypothetically you're right, that this is now a merged or should be treated as a merged property, what does that mean in terms of what they're asking for, what would change immediately?
I would say the calculations of all of the bulk conditions. Potentially. Now, we've talked a lot about looking at it from a lease area perspective versus a lot area perspective. For purposes of the board understanding what it's gonna look like. In realistically, but if that doctrine applies, and again, John and I will work through the whole thing, but if that doctrine does apply. And effectively the lots have merged for zoning purposes, then you're looking at this as one collected lot. Square footage, for setbacks, for width, for everything.
For impervious coverage, for
Which in some
landscaping?
instances could help, and in some instances could not, so. I think between the two of us, we'll have to come up with what is hopefully a mutually agreeable determination, and then if not. We'll have to see what happens.
So if they have their employees parking on somebody else's lot and they think that's okay, that's basically possibly merging lots versus trying to pocket snow on top of grass.
It would, I would say both of those could be, if you're gonna use an adjacent lot that is merged or not merged to park or store snow, you're gonna have the same potential issue. I think that's your question, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like they testified that they're willing to use another lot's parking spaces for employees, but then when I asked the question about snow removal,
Oh, I
like
understand.
we're trying to put it all over the place on grass and pile it up.
I'd like to add to the snow removal also, if we do make this modification, like we said, we comply with, that actually opens up some more landscape area that would
Okay.
alleviate that concern, I believe,
Okay,
for snow removal, that is.
okay.
So if I could, the letter that you provided, thank you, from RVE, the borough's engineer. So I'm looking on page 5. There's a note in here on towards in paragraph E, says based on an anticipated demand of greater than 12,000 gallons per day, it will be required from NJDEP's Bureau of Water Systems Engineering. So can you talk, I'm gonna have some follow-ups, but can you talk about what that means? Just like what that means, what's that process, what are they gonna be looking for, what are you providing,
Of course.
timelines, all that?
Of course, so there's 2 permits required, one's through water, that's BWRC, one's through sewer, that's TWA. Water, if you have over 12,000 gallons, you have to submit to the state. Sewer, if you're over 8,000 gallons, you have to submit to the state. How that process looks is, first, we go to you guys, we go to Flemington Township, we need to secure. I'm sorry, Flemington Borough, for your approval, which we're actively doing with that letter and our responses, which I also have to that letter here, so. Right now, and this is probably the long lead item for us in terms of determining, we're looking to get Flemington Borough's approval on the sewer and water. And make sure that they are comfortable, number one. From there, it then goes to the DEP for their review and approval. The DEP will not review either of these permits without sign off from the borough.
Okay, but, so if I go down past the checklist of lettered items. At this time, RVE does not recommend allocation of temporary reservation for water and sewer until such time as the applicant has addressed all the comments listed above. So on and so forth. So I'm making sure I'm understanding here. If approvals were granted, and because you're asking for this much water and this much sewer, you have to go to DEP.
Correct.
There's a car wash, doesn't operate if there's not enough, if water isn't approved, right?
Correct.
There's no plan B,
We
right?
cannot construct anything unless we get those permits.
Right, so then you're at risk, right? If DEP says, sorry, we're not approving 15,894 gallons per day on water, you guys are coming back to us, right? For a smaller project or what? Like, what's the?
So, yeah. When we submit. Assuming we received approvals and you were comfortable giving us the allocation. Municipality is gonna endorse the application, essentially, yeah, requires municipal endorsement. Generally speaking, would I foresee that the DEP at these levels would deny a water connection or a treatment works approval for a sewer connection if the borough approves it? Not likely they deny it, we have to go through the process. Significant in this realm, but in the DEP world, we're not talking about significant numbers here. But yeah, there is the risk that they don't approve it,
Okay.
just like any outside agency approval.
But
county
you're
approval.
talking about a borough endorsement and our engineer is saying, don't give them the capacity until. it's-
Oh, I think that was
Until it's
subject,
reviewed,
until
The
we go through
application's
the
reviewed.
review and so.
not approved. Yeah, that's the one thing it does say.
Okay. So.
We need to address their comments and secure approval from you. And then
When you
it's
say
time.
borough endorsement, I wanna make sure, are you talking about planning board approval,
No,
site plan
no,
approval, or
no.
are you talking about approval of the water?
That's
Oh.
becomes the water authority, yeah, so board approval would be first.
Right.
Then the water authority, and then ultimately it's two applications, one goes to BSDW.
BWI, it's two different departments within the state.
Two different departments, you got the water department at BEP, and then you have the sewer department, the TWA is treatment works approval, it's a sewer extension permit. So that.
Or flow, if it's greater than 8,000.
Well, so,
So, and then I mean, this is from RVE, and we've got, as the mayor said, we have our own municipal
Yeah.
water department, but it's also our TNUA for sewer. So like what they've had capacity issues, there's been classification of their facilities over the years that they've had some concerns. What have your conversations been with them like?
So Flemington's the first stop, and I believe with the sewer in this case, we would need to get Flemington's approval first, and there's a couple signatories that are required. Typically, it goes to the borough or the township first, and then to any MUA after that, and then the third stop is DEP. Some cases it goes straight from, say, the borough, an example, straight to the DEP, but most times it's 3 stops, and in this case, it sounds like that would be the second stop in the line.
So I understand the formal process. Have you had preliminary conversations with the sewer authority?
We have,
Our borough engineers are gonna talk about capacity and conveyance, but they're not gonna talk about the treatment piece, which is coming from the utility authority.
I believe we have, I don't have a copy of the correspondence with me, but I can dig that up and make sure we have.
I've got, I mean, everyone's been around me talking about the water supply concerns. I also have a concern on the sewer side of it. Because there has been issues because of classifications of the, go back a few years, but reclassification of South Branch of the Raritan has led to RTMA having some issues about capacity and expansion and things over time. And so I want to make sure that we're talking about, again, we're not talking about a restaurant use. It's not and we're not talking about 1,000 residential units. We're talking about a car wash where we've got varying data about how much water you're going to keep on site versus not keep on site. So like, I think the board would benefit to hear, please, from like what, if you've got any, even if it's informal correspondence, like what are they thinking about this?
I'll have to dig up my files on that. We typically always in due diligence, we will reach out and gain, approval and capacity and whatnot, so we should have that. However, ultimately, they will need to be the ones signing off on this. If they don't sign off, we're not boards.
Other questions for members of the board?
Yeah, I think of one other thing, going to the original, Milton Vernick, Wilson letter from this December 2nd, 2024. They wrote in that letter, which is not in this current letter, and I just wanna get a comment from that.
I'm sorry, Mayor, what letter are you looking at?
She's got another one.
Oh, okay.
It's the original will serve from last
okay,
year,
okay.
prior to them coming before us.
I'm not messing this up.
No, you're not. It says, however, concerns regarding the proposed 20 to 40% recycled water used in the process will require additional discussions. According to National Car Wash Solutions, a leading supplier of car wash equipment, car wash standards for recycled water can be up to 80%. So I just want that up there. And they did highlight that in their original letter to y'all. So there's some things, we have a super big issue.
We would like to note the manufacturer since then, for the reclamation facilities has changed. So there has been some changes with that, and as time has evolved, things have, you know, we've adopted new specifications and things from the manufacturer.
Well, right, and I would suspect that things have gotten better,
Mhm.
right? They've improved,
Yes.
but yet your numbers haven't.
Well, I thought you stated it went from 20 to 40 up. Now we're saying up to 80.
That's what they're saying, your numbers. You're still talking about the numbers that, you're still talking about needing almost 16,000 gallons and then pouring 12,000 of those gallons into the sewer system. So we can all agree technology gets better, and whatever they're creating out there in the industry has to be more ergonomically, environmentally friendly, and yet your numbers are, though you're saying they're conservative, they're not good.
We can provide our backup data.
But then you won't need those, if you have that backup data, then you shouldn't need 16,000 gallons of water in your well serve letter, or 12,000 gallons sewer, if you have those numbers.
That is potentially true.
One of those numbers is right and one of those numbers is wrong. They can't both be right and they both can't be wrong. So either you're efficient and you need less, or you're not and you're gonna waste your water. I don't know how else to put it.
I'm not gonna.
No, just come back with like real numbers.
Come back with the data.
Hopefully a reduction of what
Yes.
you really need.
Are there other questions from members of the board?
Yeah, quick question. Drawing that you have up right now. Corner of where you would make your turn, you got like a crosswalk, sidewalk,
Before the kiosks,
left, yeah.
Over
Yeah.
here.
the ADA.
Will that connect over to the main sidewalk? Cause
That-
all the drawings show it not connected, right?
That's correct. This connects to the main sidewalk area. I believe the conceptual rendering you're seeing is not
Yeah,
entirely accurate.
Yeah, I just.
It's
didn't know
gonna-
if it-
We're not gonna leave a 6-foot
Yeah.
landscape. Yeah, it connects. Yes. I did see that when you held it up.
No, I just didn't know if it was like
There's a reason.
the state said you can't
No,
go there because of a right of way, but just, okay,
But
good.
then that didn't make sense. because ADA ran. You're like,
it's ADA accessible. It all connects. Yep.
Just checking, professionals, any other questions for the engineering testimony given? Any of the remote participants, everyone's asked questions, okay. Thank you for your testimony. I'm looking at the clock, it's 10:27. We don't do new business after 10:30, so I think calling another witness now would not be appropriate. We can carry this now, our only next noticed meeting legally is the reorg meeting on January 13th. We tend not to do business on the reorg meeting, as you can understand. Right, that's not what we do. So I'm the vice chair, so I'm speaking completely out of turn here, but what we can do for the purposes of notice is we can carry it to the January 13th meeting, and then make another carry announcement at that meeting to a date certain, so that you don't have to be noticed or anything like that. That's typical practice for us. It may be January 27th, our next meeting, but nothing is real until it's adopted by the resolution of the reorg. So, but generally, we're the second and fourth Tuesday. So that's all. And we have another application that we need to carry into there too, so I think we can be in touch,
And what I'll do after this is kind of sort of wasting time now, I'll go through and just kind of send you a list of the things I think we need to either plan amendments or what we need to work out. That may also impact the timing of those things.
So if you need more time to have everything ready to go, we understand, and so we have no problems announcing carrying, to keep the thing moving. Or we have no issue in terms of time to act, right, because we've got.
Carla, you tell me, I don't know.
Just extend to the end of February,
Okay, that's
Okay, so
February 28th.
good, okay, so that's.
Is it a leap year?
I was
No,
just wondering
no,
that.
It is not.
It's not. So, yeah,
It's the end of the month.
all right, so the end of February, so that's good. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon. Have a good New Year.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
All right, so then item 8 on the agenda is chair items. The one thing that was in packet that we sent out were proposed dates, although I don't think that this list is, wanted it to be a conversation.
I think we should just ask the board, like,
Yeah.
regarding the last two meetings of the year in December. We have a meeting scheduled under this, for the 24th
That's why I
of
said-
November 24th, which is the normal meeting date. And then the question is, we meet for the 1st and 15th, which is only a week apart from November 24th. Or we meet the 8th and 22nd, which is Christmas week. Or do we just say one meeting in December? Like the 15th?
So.
Well,
Yeah, good.
no, I was just gonna say, I like the one meeting in December option, because our meeting is always on. I go to the Christmas concert. I just keep missing it.
You're missing a lot. So
Awesome.
So it feels like the consensus is keep, November 24th. And then 2 weeks later would be the 8th, December 8th. Remember, so if we pick December 8th or December 15th to be the one meeting in December, who's there? It's about the same,
That really doesn't matter.
so maybe, so
Yeah.
it'll be,
Why?
yeah.
We're only having one, the council meeting on the 14th.
So I would say maybe we keep it the 8th, so it's 2 weeks, and if we have to have a special meeting for whatever reason, we give ourselves another week to in there if we need a.
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
So it's the 8th with
15th if
and
necessary.
we should all reserve it.
Yeah, I mean,
Notice for both.
notice for the 8th and
Cancel.
the 15th, they can't. That makes sense. That's what I
Yep, yeah.
Okay,
And that one I covered if they pick either one of those two.
the other thing is on this list, bro, it needs to be the reorg 427.
Yeah.
It'll be the last date on there. So, again,
Well,
assuming that council's gonna reorg on the 4th, would be the Monday, then the 12th, we are at January 12th, 2027, will be our normal second Tuesday.
How about the May and the October?
Yes. So if we go to May. April's got 2 meetings, 13th and 28th. We would normally have a meeting on May 12th and May 12th, so it's May 26th is the day after Memorial Day. Because Memorial Day is the 4th Monday, the council is 26th for their meeting. So one option is to move up 1 week and then meeting on, the second meeting somewhere else in May, or just have one. That was what's going on out there.
and we could do the same from here. We can notice for the 12th and the 19th, and that's all the nice thing.
Okay.
Because I think it ends up being cheaper, right? If we just do one notice with everything as opposed to then going back and re-noticing.
It changes when you go on the website.
Oh, good point. That's right.
Well, I mean, noticing is cost us, if we're doing it in one shot, and then if we cancel for lack of agenda items, we just cancel for lack.
Yeah, we could do that here as opposed to then having to put that back on the website for re-noticing it.
So then the same situation happens in October. So we have meetings on the 8th and 22nd of September, regular 2nd and 4th of the month. And then so October, there is the second Tuesday would be the 13th, but because the day before is a holiday, councils take the 13th.
We could take the 6th.
We could take the 6th because that would be 2 weeks after the last.
Yeah, yeah.
Before as opposed. So the 6th, so. Okay. Good, so I think we've got a plan for that, and you've got what you need for the resolution for the reorg meeting, which is on January 13th. Are there any other chair items?
You have a chair.
Well, no, I'm just. All right, when I was chair, we used to use this space if anyone had anything else they needed to bring support, so I'm just throwing it out there. I did not, we'll move on, item 9, were there any bills? I didn't see any bills. It's too soon, no bills to audit. We need to go into executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn? So move. Haynes. Yes, Mark, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See you next year.
Yeah, I just saw. Like motion white. Yeah, it's, I did.